No. Okay, I think I got it.
There it is. Okay.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hello, welcome to Bronze Age Monsters, the show where we wade into the weirdest and wildest comic books of the 1970s. This season on B.A.M, we're covering the brief life of Atlas Seaboard Comics, the publishing venture Martin Goodman that some say was a middle finger to Marvel and Stan Lee. Revenge is a dish best served in 4 colors. I'm Matt Howell.
I'm Jacob Balcom.
Thanks for joining us, everybody. This is a live episode that we're doing on YouTube, so hopefully we have some folks out there in YouTube land checking in with us right now, saying, hey. I know it's a Friday night, and this might not be the coolest thing to do on a Friday, Jacob, but...
What? Come on.
God, come on. So how are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good, yeah. I'm ready to talk about some crime comics that made me do kind of a... You know, we've been doing Atlas Seaboard this whole season, but this is the first time I kind of went down an Atlas Comics rabbit hole. Got out a bunch of my collecteds and just started going back and seeing just how awesome Atlas Comics was. And there's a new Fantagraphics has been doing these new collections of just like Golden Age cool stuff, but they're doing Atlas stuff. And so they did Venus, they did Journey into Space, I think, and the one that's coming out in like a month or two is Police Action.
The original Police Action.
Yeah, the original Police Action, which was only 7 issues.
Okay.
Yeah.
Beat this one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, and yeah, Police Action, it lasted 7 issues, and it was only from like January of 54 to November of 54. So maybe around the same time period, but not issues. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. So I'm also super excited to talk about this because, part of the reason I was excited to do the Atlas Seaboard season was you and I enjoyed the Bronze Age buffet so much that we got different monsters, and we love many other genres besides superheroes and monster stuff. So we were stoked to check out a random sample of just different genres. So we've had mostly superhero or superhero adjacent sci-fi stuff, but this is like our first foray into a genre that you and I both really love from the Golden Age, kind of being repurposed or I don't know, having adrenaline injected into its dead heart and being awoken for the mid-70s, for the whip inflation era. So, yeah, I was super excited to talk about this. I've been waiting for this for a while. This was one I was oddly excited about for some reason.
Yeah, I've told you when we started this, and I realized it was true. I normally don't remember things exactly perfectly, but I think I told you, I was like, I have no idea about any of these issues, but I swear to God, I had or was given as like a loan or something, a issue of Police Action. I did. It was number 2.
Nice.
Yeah. So it was, it was from a friend of mine, and he's kind of older, kind of like a adopted uncle almost. And he would give me stacks of comics that I would read and get back to him. And yeah, he had issue 2. So that was pretty awesome.
He was holding on to that first issue for collectors,
Yeah, he wasn't going to let me, 5 years old, grubby hands. I had extra grubby hands, so as a kid. Yeah.
So yeah, hey, there's a lot of people out there. Thank you all so much for joining us tonight. I appreciate it. A lot of our old friends that are around, look like some new faces. Our last episode, I guess, Jacob, apparently an author retweeted or something or posted something on Twitter about it, and that one just kind of blew up for us. So we're a small little mom and pop niche comic podcast here talking about 70s stuff that we love. We love the grindhouse comics of the 70s, and we got a lot of traffic, got a lot of new subscribers, a lot of attention there. So thank you to whoever that writer was, if you're here or hearing this episode or something at some point. We really appreciate that. That was really nice, and it was nice to get a bunch of fresh eyes on the show. Very cool. So do you want to talk a little bit about maybe, one thing that you and I love particularly about this show is that we've met so many younger people, millennials, even some older Gen Z people who are like, I never thought I would like old comics. I never wanted to read old comics. You know, I've only read Bendis, and Bendis is old to me, you know, kind of people.
Yeah.
And dip their toe in this stuff. And like, oh my God, this is so fun. And thank you so much for suggesting I would do this. I would never have done this on my own. So we know there are a lot of people that are younger out there that think they might not like crime comics or have never even been exposed to them outside of Brubaker, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So you are, among the two of us, this old married couple here, you are the historian of the crew, and you also are way more steeped in golden age comics history than I am. So I know you've done you're also the researcher and historian, you know, so do your thing and do a little bit, just kind of set the stage here so people know like what came before, particularly how Martin Goodman was attached to this genre, and then we can kind of leap into 1975.
Yeah. So, well, yeah, let's start with crime comics. So, you know, yeah, crime comics were a really big genre in the golden age. I think that you could say, I mean, it wasn't the first, but it was definitely the one that kind of set the trend. And that was Lev Gleason's Crime Does Not Pay. And that ran from 1942 all the way to 1955. And it was very, very popular. It was probably the most popular. It was the most kind of lurid and violent. And yeah, there's a lot of real famous covers that are super violent and very, very collectible. There's been a bunch of collections done of Crime Does Not Pay. It's awesome. I recommend reading any of them. It's so good. And but yeah, that just kind of started off a craze, and then every company was at least doing, you know, one crime comic. Except at Timely. You know, Martin Goodman basically did what he does best, which is when he saw Crime Does Not Pay, he saw that bandwagon and he jumped on it, and then he published a bunch of like copycat comics, which he did. I'll just read you some of them because it's hilarious. He published Crime Must Lose, Crime Can't Win, Lawbreakers Always Lose, and then his All True Crime, Casey Crime Photographer, Crime Cases Comics, Crime Exposed, Crime Fighters, and Justice. So those were all the ones that he had put out during this boom. And that's basically what Martin Goodman did his entire publishing history. He was a very good businessman and made a lot of money doing this. But what he's doing even here today in this Atlas Seaboard issue that we're going to be talking about is that, you know, he takes that trend and he just tries to take it, not pay anyone for it if he can't, and then publish it and just move on. That was his thing, is that he would publish these, you know, it was a lot of fly-by-night. Well, the pulps in general, where he started, it's all fly-by-night. They're all crooks. They're all just cheating each other. It's an awesome era. We've talked about this book many times on the show, but a lot of the stuff that I have researched about this time period. My favorite book is Bell and Vassallo. They had a book called The Secret History of Marvel Comics, and it talks about Martin Goodman and how he got started and how he got started in the pulps. And he pretty much does the exact same thing every single time. He never had to change up his format. So he changed, you know, he did exactly what he's doing now with Atlas Seaboard. So the very first thing that he published was in May of 1933. It was a pulp magazine called Western Super Novel Magazine, featuring Jess Roundtree, Texas Ranger. And this was a novel by Dane Coolidge. And at the top of the pulp, it said, a new complete $2 novel for 15 cents. Except it wasn't new. It was released in hardcover earlier in the year. And the cover design for this was suspiciously like another magazine called Dime Mysteries. So it's basically the same thing. So Goodman's very first publication, he tried to pass off old material as new and copied a competitor's cover design and logo.
That's him all over.
It's his only move. It's the only move he makes. You know, they've very famously talked about the Fantastic Four. It's just him being like, Justice League, give me Justice League. I was golfing and I was told the Justice League was really big. So it's literally what he does all the time. The thing that I think really burned him, and maybe that's why issue 2 and issue 3 are such just like kind of dumpster fires in a lot of ways. We like the story wise, but Martin Goodman is obviously, like, he's losing his mind because he's having to do the one thing that he's never done, which is pay a living wage to creators and give them rights, give them their art back. Like, this is crazy. I know he had to do this to get everybody so he could get his revenge. But by issue 2, like you had said, I think last issue or last episode, he's hemorrhaging money in a way that he probably never has. And so he's just, by issue 2 and 3 of all these Atlas Seaboard, he's losing his mind. Steam is shooting out of the ears, cartoonishly old style. So, but I just thought that was interesting. That it showed a lot about Martin Goodman, is that he found something that worked. And he kept those ethics from the pulp times, which were very Old West. Like, we will do whatever the fuck we want. We will steal from authors. We'll steal from each other. We'll just try and pump out as much shit as we can. And he never got out of that. That was just his, and that made him very successful.
Yeah. Was there ever any kind of like fraud? Like, saying like, just stealing people's stuff, republishing things, saying all new stories, but it's not. Like, did anyone ever sue him?
Absolutely. The FTC was on these guys. Goodman was sued, I think, for the next issue of something. But, and he was sued for what he did with his very first one, I think a year later, where, he's like, it's all new, and yet it wasn't. So, the FTC was trying to wrangle these guys and was fining them all over the place. But they're switching companies. They're doing like shell company on shell company. Yeah. It's pretty awesome. Again, I highly recommend Secret History of Marvel Comics. It's awesome. It's an awesome story.
I've heard like you and Brad Elmore and people like talking about that book since season 1, and I need to get it, man. So are we ready to jump to the 70s or?
Yeah, let's do it.
So I mean, I kind of posited this on the last episode. I think that, like we make jokes about Tim Burton's Ed Wood movie all the time, and that one of the investors was like a rancher, and he put a bunch of money in the film, and he just said, one thing, I want it to end with a big explosion. And he's like, and also my son's starring in it. He's not too bright, but he's a good boy, I feel like Martin Goodman was kind of like that. He was just writing checks. He's like, well, all right, there's got to be something called police action, because why are there no crime comics now? We published that for Timely or whatever. So my theory is that he had like 4 things I need, right? I'm cutting checks. I'm doing whatever. In order to piss Stan off, I've got to do a couple things, but he either wanted to piss Stan off as like it's literally the same title as something he published with Stan, a young Stan, or it's just in his old brain, like, there's got to be a crime comic. You've always got to, there's always money in the banana stand, like that kind of thing. Like, you've got to have a crime comic. So I think this was something he requested, because in Comic Book Artist number 16, Jeff Roven, when somebody asked him about some of the dumber titles or something like that, he was just kind of like, they said, like, what about police action? He's like, oh, that was just Kojak, but he had hair. Yeah, I think that's literally the only comment in that entire thing about it.
Yeah, it's the only thing that's not like just police action listed in like the contents and stuff. Yeah, it is. It's just such a ripoff of what was going on in the early 70s.
So, and you and I were talking before we actually go live. You and I were talking a bit about like how the landscape of TV and movies in 1975 with detective dramas, police shows, movies, whatever. This isn't that crazy of an idea. And we were wondering before we started live, like, why wasn't there more crime comics in the 70s? You were saying it's probably just considered old fashioned by kids at that point, because there were old musty comics in their parents' attic or in a trunk in their living room or whatever that had old 50s crime comics in it. So they seemed fuddy-duddy and dumb. But at the same time, we were like, well, there was this demand for them on TV and movies, right? So we were going back to like, well, I mean, Bullet, starring Steve McQueen, was 1968, a very famous movie. You said Columbo made his appearance on TV in 1969, I believe.
1968, yeah.
Dirty Harry, Harry Callahan, the character was introduced in 1971, wildly popular film. So this idea of like the unusual detective, or the cop who doesn't play by the rules, but he's a good cop. The ends justify the means. That concept. I was wondering before we started, like, why was that such a thing? I would posit just off the top of my head that it's a backlash to the 60s. I think it's just got to be like, we went a little kooky there with the body paint and the daisies and the protests and the whatever. And it's time to kind of correct this path a little bit, get back onto whatever, let's make America great again, maybe. But that's just a placeholder. We'll figure out something better. Yeah. But I think it's this idea that we've gone too far and we need to come back, and it might take painting outside the lines a little bit to get us back to where we were in the good old 50s, where everyone was happy and nobody drank too much or popped a bunch of fucking Xanax all the time and suppressed their sexual desires or whatever. So I think that's what it is. I think that's why these cops were so popular in the 70s was there was the pushback against counterculture, and then maybe I'm sure I constantly talk about Watergate, but I think this kind of idea of like, holy shit, even the politicians break the laws.
Yeah.
Like, we need a good lawman to come in here and straighten this mess out. I think there's a little bit of it's just a melange of that.
Yep. Magnum force. Then it happens.
Yep. Then it happens. So, so, I mean, I can see why he wanted to publish this. I think that the Streets of San Francisco, Kojak, Banacek, Mannix, Columbo, all this stuff was wildly popular. These shows were pretty big hits. Most of them had 3 or 4 to 5 to, I think Kojak was on for like 5 years. Like, good runs.
Oh yeah. No, they were all really successful TV shows and really successful movies. I don't know. I'm not saying there weren't any crime comics, but there were not a ton. So I don't know. I don't know why it didn't translate pop culture wise back into the comics where it had kind of started, at least that thing.
I mean, maybe there is no, because it was on TV, so that couldn't be super violent either. Like, we've talked before about how Jeff was trying to push the boundaries. Like, let's put a little swear. Let's put a little bit of violence. Let's, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, but I think that, it's so obviously Dirty Harry in this. It's just so obvious that I don't know. I see that. I see that as Roven doing more of that than Goodman. I don't know if Goodman was like, give me Dirty Harry. He was probably just, give me crime comics.
Yeah.
And Roven was probably just like, well, I've already asked him a bunch. Can we get the rights to this? And he always says no. So fuck it. Let's just do Dirty Harry.
Yeah. We're definitely getting a lot of Dollar Tree versions of things that Roven was like, let's do the adaptation of X, Y, or Z. And then all right, I'm going to write down a number. I'm going to push this over to your side of the desk. And Jeff's like, yeah, he's not going to say yeah to that.
Yeah.
So there's definitely a lot of that kind of Brandek stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So are you, sorry. We've been posting all these lovely comments here, but we need to call some of these out. So Mark Nevins just mentioned a minute ago that Baretta, Columbo, Streets of San Francisco, but he said, but prison reform was big in the 70s. That's a good point.
That is a good point.
And Glenn is saying, yeah, DC and Marvel, because we publish this as audio also, so we do like to read these out when we're doing a live here, so people can hear some of the comments from our listeners. Glenn said DC and Marvel just thought only superhero comics would sell, and they should have tried some crime comics again. That's a fair point. Again, like you were saying, Jacob, like these weren't. Comics publishing wasn't about nobility. This wasn't James Joyce and whatever. These guys were trying to make money. So if they're saying, wow, these superhero comics are selling like crazy, right? Like Hulk was on college campuses on signs and all this crap, and Silver Surfer on dorm room walls and all that. Like, they're like, just keep giving them what they want. Just give them what they want. So there was no reason for them to stray from that. So that's a good point from Glenn.
Yeah, it's funny that they all jumped into horror comics. They, you had even, some kind of grindhouse stuff from Marvel, but not a ton of detective or crime stuff. It is weird. The more we talk about it.
We're not thinking about, Jacob? We're not thinking about who was watching Kojak. That wasn't a 13-year-old kid. I mean, there were some, but most of them were their parents, right?
I think so, yeah.
I mean, for the most part, I mean, even if you're not a counterculture kid or like a Jeff Spicoli or whatever, you still don't really like cops when you're young. So I can kind of see where they're like, I want to read about a guy who surfs in space. I don't want to read about a fucking pig shoving a hot dog in his mouth. So I can see that, I guess. Now that I'm like talking through it, it's like, okay,
yeah, that makes sense.
So yeah, you ready to dive in?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So we are looking at Police Action featuring Lomax, NYPD, and Luke Malone, Manhunter. And folks, if you want to read these 3 issues on your own at some point in the future after this, you can go to archive.org. They have all 3 scanned. They're very nice. Archive is a site we love. And I think, Jacob, after this, let's start supporting Archive.
Yeah, we absolutely should. They do such a good, important work of just, making sure everything's there. We absolutely need to start doing that.
Yeah, and it was to my surprise. I think when we chose Atlas Seaboard, I don't know if these were actually on there. So I think these are relatively new additions, and it seems like everything we've talked about this season has been on there in its entirety. So, like you're saying, they're doing a valuable service to culture, but they're also helping us out as a comics podcast by having all this stuff that was not easily found, or if it was found, it was on sites where you had to look at hentai pop-up ads all the time to see scans of them. So. So I'm glad they're there, and we're going to start supporting them with a little bit of our Patreon money. Okay, so this cover here is by Larry Lieber, who is also the editor of this title, and it's got inks by Frank Giacoia. Which, have we seen him much with Atlas Seaboard this season?
Yeah, I thought we had him inking something just a few issues ago.
Yeah,
I had him in his notes. It was just a cover. I think he did inks on a cover.
No interiors though, huh?
No, we haven't had interiors by Frank.
Okay. So we've got a nice little cover here of a dirty, low down, like a slum inside where the plaster's falling off the walls, revealing the wood behind it. And there's like a spotlight effect. And the door's being kicked in by a cop who we find out later is Sam Lomax. And we have some ultra violence here. There's a cop behind him, and they're just coming in guns blazing. And in the foreground, there's a girl with tape over her mouth and her arms bound behind her back. When there's a damsel in distress, we have a drink for that. We have a little drinking game. I'm just having seltzer tonight. I'm tired, so I didn't even have a beer. I'm boring.
Negroni.
There you go.
It begins. Summer is
Italian
almost
cocktail.
Yep, it's almost here. So I jumped ahead.
So in the middle between the woman and the cops, there's a couple scumbag guys there. One's got a sawed-off shotgun and he's shooting the door. Sam's kicked the door in. One guy's shot and he's got like a hippie vest on and he's falling backwards, maybe with a gun belt or something on his. I can't tell what he has on him. And we have a nice little inset that looks to be our friend Luke Malone, Manhunter, that we're going to meet, just lighting a cigarette just inside a little porthole. What do you think of this cover? I think this one's hilarious. I don't know why it makes me laugh every time I look at it.
It makes me laugh. I don't know if it's a good cover. The porthole of Luke Malone makes me laugh the most. He's just looking on. He's just a cool, casual observer up there, lighting his cigarette. So that makes me laugh. And then it's such a Ramita gal down there, right?
God, so Ramita.
That had to be a choice.
Yeah, there's another Ramita gal I think we're going to see at the end on the rest of the story, the other 2 issues. Somebody got the notes. I think Larry figured out that Ramita does good covers, so they sell books. So he tried to copy his style on her face.
Yeah, we haven't talked about this yet. I mean, I know Martin Goodman was mad. Larry Lieber couldn't have been happy with everything that went down at Marvel. He probably wasn't 100% cool with everything. So, he's probably kind of angry too. Yeah.
I think he might have had a bit of a stake there. So I think at this point in the publishing of their year of publishing, I think this is where Jeff is the official head, but Larry had a couple books. And
but it's starting to,
I think Jeff walks this month or something after this.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and I like that Luke Malone looks like a chainsaw sculpture. The way Ploog does him, he looks handsome, but also completely harsh and severe, every time he's depicted, which I think is fascinating.
It is a little weird. I mean, we'll get to that, but I put the blame on Frank Springer for that.
All right, so let's dive in.
Okay, so we open on this little, it would normally open on a title page or credits page, but now we have this little prelude here, and I loved this. So it says midnight, a lone figure strolls from the elevator to an awaiting automobile, which he enters. This guy's getting in, turns on the ignition, and is blown to bits. So it's I actually really liked, the art on this. I'll just say it was fine. Like, the art didn't blow me away on this. Layouts I thought were a little more better than the art, but I think this first page is pretty damn perfect.
Yeah, and you know that I'm a fan of the cold open for the 70s TV show. So I mean, this is. I'm at my grandma's house, sitting on the couch with her, and this comes on after a commercial. I'm in.
Yeah, we keep making the Rockford jokes, but man, it fits every time.
Yeah, it definitely does. Yeah, I'm with you. I don't think the art in this blew me away, but I prefer the layouts. I thought were entertaining and well done. But just the art itself, I thought was just pretty par for the course from this artist, who we've seen a lot of this season.
Yeah.
Moving on. Okay, so we get this splash. No, it's not a splash. It's this weird treatment here. I kind of took issue with this, where it's like, why are you wasting a quarter of your page with this dead space here, where it says Sam Lomax, NYPD, big city cops are used to violence from petty heists to wholesale slaughter, but when one of their own ends up in pieces over 100-foot area, that's when Sam Lomax gets called in. So we're at the scene of the crime here, and there's, again, just shrapnel and just viscera and exploded cop everywhere, all over the place. And the guy's like, God, it looks like a subway wreck. Where's Lomax? And he shows up. I'm coming, Captain. He says, you knew Brooks. Any ideas on who had him busted? He's like, no, he served the city like a waiter for 16 years. Okay, first of all, we have to get this out of the way. The writing across all these issues, every character is like the most labored, like similes, and like everyone's a meatball, or everyone's like, it's just this super corn dog writing through the whole thing, which I was super amused by. So he served the city for 16 years like a waiter, and he racked up a lot of enemies in that time, and he was undercover at the time this happened. So, for now, he's undercover for keeps. And he says, don't ask me to make an ID. I can't even make the car model. So, I mean, everything is here so heavy-handed. Calm down. Play it by the book, Lomax. No vendettas. We want convictions, not funerals. So we're already getting all the, we joke all the time about, he's a good cop. He's a damn good cop. Like we're already getting that. Like he has a tendency to play fast and loose. And so we see Lomax, and he's in the foreground lighting up a cigarette, thinking, man, Steve is one of the best high explosive guys I knew in the Corps. He saved my butt in Korea, He's doing the whole thing. Too bad he couldn't survive long enough for me to return the favor. So if you're keeping score here, like the first time I read this, I was like, okay, that seems important.
Yeah,
Explosives,
right.
Demolitions expert.
Interesting. Tell me more.
So I guess I was just wondering, Jacob, like, what do you think of the depiction so far of Lomax? Like, typically I would expect this to be like someone trying to model it after someone, but we're going to see a lot of Lomax in the next few pages here. Do you think he's modeled after someone by Sekowsky, or is this just Italianish looking guy, even though Lomax isn't Italian?
No, but I figured that, you and I, we should be able to kind of figure out who he's modeling something after, if they're just straight up ripping off like detective stuff from the early 70s. But no, I couldn't. I mean, it's such a weird style. I mean, yeah, it's Sekowsky and Al McWilliams, and for some reason, I don't know. I don't get it. I am not a fan of the faces through this entire issue. My least favorite part of the art. At times, and every time I thought, I was like, yeah, I'm totally right. I would see the next panel and be like, nope. But my first thoughts were like, is it like Mitchum? Is he Robert Mitchum? Is he like Burt Lancaster? Like, there's times where you can almost see like this kind of like 15 years ago Hollywood Idol type of look, leading man thing. But then you get another angle. I'm like, nope, not Mitchum. So I don't know if he had a model. No, it was super. Yeah, it was. I couldn't think of anyone. Yeah, it just kept going different. So I don't know. I just think it's a style choice by Sekowsky and McWilliams, and I think sometimes it works, but a lot of times for me it doesn't.
Yeah. I do like that last panel where he's in the foreground lighting a cigarette and there's the fuchsia background. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, that is really cool.
The cops are in the background, like trying to piece together what happened.
Yeah,
John Cassavetes says, Glenn, that's a good call.
Okay, that is a pretty good call, Glenn. That
that
makes a little more sense. You know, when was Rosemary's Baby? So
69.
that was earlier. So, but yeah, I don't know. So Matt, were you familiar with Jack Younger, who has the story credit here?
No, I had to look him up and find out that was a pseudonym.
Yeah, he's Russ Jones. So creator of Creepy for Warren Publishing. So yeah, I thought that was crazy. So yeah, but he scripted a lot of comic books stories for a lot of publishers, including Marvel, Atlas Seaboard, Gold Key, Charlton. He was an artist too. He penciled Mystery in Space from DC Comics. He did a ton of inking on DC not mystery, romance comics. Mostly with Bob Stewart, the artist, I think. But yeah, it was and then ghostly tales, like stuff that we like from Charlton, like that early 70s horror stuff that we love. And he actually teams with J. Scott Pike, who I love. J. Scott Pike is the inker. It's on DC's Heartthrobs. Heartthrobs is one of my favorite kind of later romance titles from DC. It's great. And the art is really good on it. I almost feel like I'd like to read a little bit more about that particular title because it feels higher quality to me than other ones. Okay. I don't know if I've just read too many romance comics and I'm starting to make lore where lore might not be, but I love it. And so, yeah, I thought that was interesting. But yeah, he created Creepy. He basically, created that whole thing.
So, I forgot to check this. Did he use this? Was this a common pseudonym he used, or was this kind of just a one-off?
No, he used this, and I think he used this for some, but he had like a couple different aliases, a couple pen names.
Okay, because I remember somewhere in that comic book artist issue, someone talking to Rovin about how he had worked with Warren, and that Warren wasn't super thrilled about this whole thing that Jeff Rovin was doing. So I was just wondering if this was protecting something, but I don't think so. I don't know. Hard to say.
I'm not sure. But you want to hit the next page?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So so Lomax here, he's deciding to find that scumbag that wasted Steve. And in the I like the next narration because we get the weird quotes again, right?
Yeah.
Like I understand some. It says, after checking Brooks' rap book, in quotes. Okay, fine. Lomax wheels over to the Club A Go-Go. And again, it's just it's just the name of the club.
Yeah, you don't need to do this.
You don't need anything there. Like, it's fine. You can just say that. Where his friend had been Bird Dog and George Vincent, a local mobster the department had been trying to stifle for years. I think I should point out at this point what I did notice, I'm sure you did too, Matt, is that this is trying to be Dirty Harry, but man, it gets corny. It gets corny 50s so quick, like sometimes within the same panel.
Yeah, it's like a knee-jerk reaction to just be completely like hard-boiled, like corny, like 15 years old.
Oh yeah, it is. Yeah, it's freaking hilarious. So Jason Feinstone says, there are an awful lot of exclamation points in this story as well. Yeah, you're right. The writing in this is something else. So,
our friend MJ over in England said he couldn't join us for this, but he would have loved to. But he said that he had exclamation point fatigue basically by the end of this, like he kind of PTSD.
So he gets to Club A Go-Go. Club A Go-Go, which I love. It's like I don't know. It has like kind of a postmodern, like again, dime store Andy Warhol thing. There's like eyes and lips on the wall. It's all crazy. Bunch of swinging cats. But man, these faces. Like some of the faces are good. I like Sonny Bono there. He's looking good. He's looking like he's having a good time. But then the lady next to him in the red, I'm just like, it's that silly putty identikit face kind of thing going on a lot of these. So it's real spotty. I think maybe that's what upset me the most, is that I could understand the style of faces if it was consistent through the whole thing.
Right. Like who we find out later is Bobby, this like the cigarette girl or whatever. Like that's a napkin drawing of a face to me.
Yeah, it is.
With that short strawberry blonde hair.
So much of this is napkin drawings. Oh yeah. So okay, so yeah, Lomax sees Steve's girl living it up. He goes over, and she's like, "What do you want, Lomax?" Says, "I thought you might know who smoked Steve. You see, baby, you were the only person in Vincent's crowd that knew Steve carried a badge." So yeah, there's a lot of babies too in this. A lot of them.
Yeah.
So, but then, you know, we've got a couple of mugs that come over and say some really boss things like "buzz off." My favorite is that guy comes over and says, "Kiss off, Heat, now." I think we've noticed that in some of these Atlas issues, characters have uttered sentences that I don't think have ever been said by a human being before.
No.
I think that's one of them.
Kiss off, Heat.
Kiss off, Heat. And so, yeah, they're starting to strong arm him. And then, yeah, at the end, Lomax is like, "If that's your best shot, hero, you just wasted it."
So at this point, I was 100% in. Like once we go into like you said, like the bargain basement Warhol Club factory with like I was trying to figure out, like, are those eyes like, is it like projected onto the wall, or is it like, I imagine it's like their version of like, you know, like in the factory, like they put like water, food coloring and like oil between two slides and like press it and have that weird thing and then project it on the wall, you know, like while Velvet Underground played.
Oh yeah.
I think that's what they're trying to go for.
It's what they're trying to go for, but it looks cheap to us, and it's probably cheap in Club A Go-Go. They look like color forms. Like, there's giant color forms. I just want them. They're just like taped to the walls, and they're like, "Oh, we're postmodern now."
Oh man. So yeah, I was loving this, and I love the fact that Stephen Toast apparently is there having a drink with a blonde chick. That's great too. Ray fucking Purchase. Yeah, so I was 100% in by this scene, particularly with these gorillas. I love a good set of gangster gorillas. I love that this guy has an Astro medallion. This other dude has this loud green tie that's like so busy it's like giving me like a seizure. And you know, I love this guy just comes in and just a big hulking meathead and misses our hero like first thing out of the gate here, right?
It looks like Lomax just barely moved over too.
Yeah,
you know?
too. I know.
Like you didn't have to do a like hard dodge.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah, Glenn. Good. I didn't mention that. I love that he has a white turtleneck on and an Astro medallion. That's just the perfect 70s pair. Oh my God. Okay, so we're going on the next page. So first thing I noticed here, Jacob, we also have a drink for whenever we have a Mr. Show reference. So there's a famous Mr. Show thing. There's a spoof of the People versus Larry Flint, but instead of Penthouse or whatever, it's Taint Magazine. So if you have never seen Mr. Show, it's a sketch comedy with Bob Odenkirk and David Cross. Go to YouTube, type in Mr. Show Taint, and you will find it's like a 6-minute sketch. It's one of the funniest goddamn things from the 90s, in my opinion. We reference it constantly between us friends. But there's this joke there's a spoof in there that's it's a spoof of the 60s Batman series about a guy called Reverend Kalunda, who's like I forgot what his role is, but at one point Bob Odenkirk is like one of the henchmen of the villain called the Windbreaker, and he kicks Reverend Kalunda in the crotch, and then a big Batman taint comes out, and that's where the young publisher first notices the taint, and he becomes obsessed with taints after that. And that's why he makes Taint Magazine. You have to see it. It's fucking hilarious. But that was the first thing I thought of when I saw this was Lomax kicks this dude right in the taint.
Yeah,
so
I like
Jason
Feinstone gets it. He says, "Taint misbehaving.
Taint your wagon, baby.
Taint your wagon." That's it.
Yeah, so Lomax has grabbed the dude. The dude punched at him. He grabbed his arm, threw it behind him. He's got that dude in an arm lock, and he kicks another dude in the taint. Like, okay, so now I'm behind this guy. He's a schlub, but he's effective.
It's badass.
He said, "You made your play. Now I'm gonna land on you." So again, everything these people say in this is like cliche, like overwrought, but also kind of like, have you seen a film noir? have you ever read like a detective novel? Like they're all a little bit off. Like, is this Canadian or something? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's weird.
So he shoves a gun in the other dude's face. And he's like, "Cool it, creep. Lead is even harder to digest than Vincent's food." Like, "Oh, okay, Lomax, keep your lid on." So he's like, "Yeah, well, Vincent must be fighting inflation. Where'd he find the cheap gunsels?" Yeah, everything he says is like clever, quippy, corny, weird like that. And then the girl says, "Drift, Lomax. You've tried to bust George Vincent 100 times, and it got Steve dead." And Lomax says, "I want to see Vincent." So, I mean, this is freaking hilarious. She says, "No way, he hates your guts." And again, he sparks up another cigarillo or whatever the hell he smokes. He's like, "I don't want to marry him. I just want to meet now. Otherwise, I'll run his gorillas in for packing unlicensed hardware." Every goddamn line.
Yep.
So she takes him in to see Vincent. He says, "Hey, I thought this club was fumigated." She says, "The man insists on seeing you." "Okay, shove off, Bobby." And then he reaches into his desk. "I hear that one of your guys got deep sixed. Sorry about that. Here, have a cigar." Man, hilarious.
Yeah, it is really, really funny. But yeah, it just made me think back, even like, because we're like, oh, this is so corny and old. But I'm just like, the Thin Man had amazing dialogue.
Yep.
Like this is just bad. It's like,
nothing to do with the age.
No,
right?
With the
Dashiell
age,
Hammett's
the genre,
fucking 20s. It's crisp, and it still sparkles 100 years later. This is just corny, cheap writing, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard-boiled bullshit. This is just, but this is very evocative of that whole golden age crime comic boom. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's weird. Like, okay, I mean, Jack Younger or Russ Jones. I don't know. He's not as old as Martin Goodman. Like. And he's not that corny of a writer, honestly, it seems like, from some of the stuff that he's done. So I don't know. I don't know if this is... Do you think Martin Goodman has a hand? Now that Jeff Roven's kind of out, do you think Goodman's dipping his toe back in and being like, okay, this crime comic has to be like this? It's gotta sing like all my comics did.
The way I kind of took it was like all of these people were kind of doing the... all right, Martin wants a crime comic. Like, I'm just rolling their eyes, like just everything's just like, all right, let's do it. Like the money's good. Like it just felt like that to me.
A lot of this, I mean, we keep saying this, but a lot of these creatives that come and get this gig, you're right, Matt. You said it 2 episodes ago. I think it's like they're all talking to each other, they're all communicating, and they're just like, "Yep, it's not going to be around long. You'll get a decent paycheck. Just shit something out. No one's gonna see it." And you know what? No one did.
Yeah, honestly, they had no distribution, so yeah, nobody saw it.
So yeah, no one saw this shit. And so yeah, it seems like even a lot of these like really big names and big creators, they weren't killing themselves over these stories.
Yeah, Cookie Madison says the dialogue is like a photocopy of a photocopy. That's so perfect. It's like someone read Dashiell Hammett, and then they wrote some crappy pulp crap like 10 years later, and then somebody read that, and then like wrote some really bargain basement crime comics in the mid-50s, and then someone read that, and they're writing this, where it's just like, it's like Telephone Game. It just gets more distorted and breaks down as it goes on, and it just becomes like this kind of muscle memory of like, this is how they talk, isn't it? It's like, no, nobody does.
Nope, not one person. Yeah, photocopy of a photocopy. God damn, I could not explain this better than that.
Yeah, that's perfect.
It is very, very perfect.
Yeah, look at that. Hey, that's a good point. Glenn pointed out, and Mark, that phone is very modern for 1975. It has push buttons instead of the rotary.
Well, I guess, Vincent is cutting edge. Well, he's trying to make Andy Warhol, he's trying to do Andy Warhol aesthetic to his club. So this guy stays fresh and current.
Yes. Nothing says 1975 like Club a Go-Go.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. So, okay. So yeah, next page, we got Lomax coming up, and okay, so we know that from our last panel that Vincent was going to pull out a gun, right? Like we knew that. Like we knew that was going to happen. So then then he's just like, sure, what brand is it? A 38 or a 45? Now tell me how about Steve Brooks getting snuffed? And Vincent's hand is smashed in the drawer. He's like, you're nuts, Lomax. I never killed a cop. You can't tie me into this. So this is the Dirty Harry part, you know. He's breaking fingers. He's being tough. And then he has that panel. What is up with that panel?
Which one?
Well, okay. Well, yeah.
They're all funny.
You answered my question. They're all funny. Every single panel. And again, this is one of those pages where the layout is awesome. Honestly, the layout's pretty good, but just the execution is so weird. That one, and again, this is, goes from Dirty Harry right to the next panel. Look, meatball. This little chat is just between you and me. You got a tight alibi, but I'm going to break it. And it looks like he's just like holding him, by his cuffs and like pushing his head. Like, I don't know. It's a weird move, right?
Pulling him by the lapels towards him and shoving him up by the chin back. I mean, I guess that would hurt. It's a weird move.
It's a weird move, right? Okay. And then, then he goes next and comes down. He's like, Vince's like, lay off. I run a clean business. And so now he has his arm behind his back and is pulling his hair back. Lomax is really flipping into a bunch of different positions here.
Very physical, cop.
It's very physical, very sensual. and so he says, Lomax is like, whatever he had blew up in his face, I'm going after you, Vincent. All of you and your cockroaches decorating the wall. Again, just clunky enough to be like, I don't understand where this is from.
Yeah. It's like what he's trying to say, but it's like,
it's so weird. Yeah, but then
go
on.
Jacob, have you ever seen? Sorry to interrupt you. Have you ever seen? I just saw this the other day, where people like feed lyrics. Like somebody put "All Star" by Smash Mouth into Aramaic, and then they translate it from Aramaic back into English, and it gets like really pretty. It's almost like that. That's what it makes me think of, is like where it's like it just went through some meat grinder of like language, like. Translate this into Japanese and then translate from Japanese into English. It almost feels like that.
Yeah, but it got worse somehow.
Whereas Smash Mouth got pretty.
Yeah, Smash Mouth got pretty. This did not. Yeah, this is something else. I do love that panel of him being pushed. We get that first person, him being pushed back. I'm like, okay, that's good. That's pretty cool. But then the next panel is this. Why would you put a word balloon there? That is so fucking weird. So you don't even see it. It says, "Don't plan on any vacations. Take one step out of line, and I'll land on you. You're finished, Mister Finished." But you can't really tell because there's a giant word balloon in front of his face.
This is where I was like, okay, is everyone working on this taking the piss? Like, is this all a fucking gag? Like, it's not meant to be funny, but they're all just like, let's make this this is a stupid gig. Let's just make it stupid. It kind of felt like that to me here.
It feels like that with this issue more than any other issue. Because, okay, you could take Iron Jaw. They're just like, oh, shit, barbarians are big. Like, this is big. Like, this is big business. People are buying this shit. Like vampires. Yes, people fucking love vampires. I got to try and do good on this. I think everyone involved with this, they're like, a fucking crime comic? Like, maybe Martin Goodman was just like, here's police action from 1950, whatever. Like, do this. And they're like, fuck. So, yeah, maybe they just got together and they're just like, all right, let's do this, but let's amuse ourselves too.
Well, so Mark pointed out, like, he loves how these 50-year-old artists are trying to be hip and it always looks dated, right? It never looks modern. Because, like, Sekowsky's in his mid-50s at this point, isn't he?
Yeah. Sekowsky's not a young. He's early 50s. He's not a young man, and but this is just Steve Ditko over and over again, and or Stan Lee trying to write hippie dialogue, and it sounds like Maynard G. Krebs. So I mean, it's just, and we love that stuff more than anything. But
Stan Lee writing women or hippies is always gold.
Oh man. Yeah, so goddamn, but that panel, that has to be intentional. Like, there's no reason for that. I don't know. Or they're like, you gotta keep his finger in there.
Do we do we take that panel and make that a put Bronze Age monsters in that balloon? That almost seems like that needs to be a shirt.
Oh shit, that would be great. So next run, yeah, they get a. He's going out and he's like, oh, so the bomb was a big one. They're back at headquarters. It's like they don't come in any bigger. There's enough dynamite to blow up a dozen cars. But then that final panel also makes me laugh. So from there, it seems like he's smoking those green cigars that Columbo would. That's what I'm seeing his smokes as. They're even kind of colored slightly green in a lot of these. And so I feel like that's their template a little bit. Like that's what they're pulling from Columbo is just the green cigars.
Okay, but that makes sense because I was just like, is he smoking whatever like the cheroots that Groucho Marx smoked, where it's like everyone around him would complain, like you can afford good cigars. Why do you smoke these?
Stop. Yeah. So and then you get to that last panel. It's just like something doesn't ring right. I'm getting a lot of talk, but no answers. Vincent's a creep, but not an idiot. He knows I'd bust him in a second if I had anything. So yeah, at this point when I was reading this, I just started kind of laughing harder and harder as this. So honestly, I may have enjoyed this issue more than some of the other ones we've talked about, just because I laughed my ass off reading this.
Oh, I'm tipping my hand. I enjoyed this one a lot more than a lot of the ones we've read so far. I mean, look at me. I'm laughing my ass off still. That's like 4 times now.
I know, it's awesome.
I had a blast with this. Okay, moving on.
Yep.
Okay. So yes, so the action continues here, and Lomax says, I think it's time I came down on Bobby. She knows a lot more than she's letting on. I love the way that car looks like Luke's land speeder and like on Tatooine or something. Like, I don't know what he's driving, but it looks fucking awesome.
It looks awesome. What is that? Does anyone know what that is? I'm not a car guy.
Are you car people? If you know what he's driving, we'll see a little bit later too, but let us know. I'm fascinated by it. So minutes later, he shows up at Bobby's East Side apartment. He hears a scream from inside. He kicks the door in. Very nice, efficient row here. I love this. Comes in, stay smart, freeze. There's a couple toughs in there. Apparently, they went to Steve Ditko's haberdashery to get all of their early 60s clothing. Lomax. And Bobby says, no. And then he says, drop, Bobby. And he starts just opening fire. Like, sure, they are reaching in their pockets, but he is shooting first and asking questions later. And I like that look at the gun is pointed right at us. Her head's right below our eye line. Like he's not taking into, everybody's safety into consideration here.
No.
In the bottom left, this guy, he shoots this one guy and he does a backspin. So he's got a hand cannon, obviously. Another dude's dead. One dude's down with his hands up in the air, like saying, don't shoot me. And Bobby's safe on the ground, sprawled out. And then the guy's like, don't shoot. And he puts the gun like in his mouth and he picks up the handset of the phone. He's like, Vincent isn't going to like this. You're going bye-bye for beating up one of our citizens. And I don't know why, but that last panel cracked my ass up. Like that dude looks like he should be in like a Casper comic or something like that. Like a robbing a bank in a Harvey comic.
Yeah, he does. Oh man. Yeah, I gotta say, I am gonna complain a bit about the art, but that panel of that guy getting shot back, that is fucking awesome.
Yeah, that is badass.
It's such a good panel. Like it is so cool.
Yeah, my note on this page says there's a crude and simple boldness to this art that kind of just works for me. Like it doesn't, I don't always love the art, but like that shoe kicking in, like that middle panel right here looks like Robert Crumb or something like that. I mean, it's like.
Does.
Or Dan Clowes. I mean,
it looks like Dan Clowes more than anything to me.
Yeah, that's why I meant to say not Crumb. Like it looks like Clowes and like just like that foot. Like it's just I don't know. It's just simple and effective. So I don't always love what he's doing here. Like this last panel made me laugh, not in a good way, but that the panel before it where he's spinning that dude around with a bullet. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's really good, and I feel like I don't know, but even like the word balloon where it's coming out of Lomax's head, like in that weird spot, I don't know. The word balloon placement in this issue is bad, very consistently.
Yeah,
like bad enough to where I noticed it, and to where you kind of just automatically will read your word balloons, but with this, I'm just like, oh, why is that there? That's weird.
So. okay, I did the same thing, Jacob. I'm like, so, okay, you can't cover up Bobby. She's crying. I mean, you could, but he's talking about one of our citizens, and that's her crying. So, okay, that's that connective tissue. Why can't you cover up the phone? Like, why is that? Is him calling for backup or a paddy wagon? Is that so important? I just very often was like, why there? Why this way?
Yeah, it is. It's almost like, yeah, you're right. That one should have been over the fucking phone. Like, it's almost like it's going, they're pasting up and it just kind of slides up or something. And they're like, fuck it. It's fine. But yeah, it's really, really weird. That one especially.
A ghost. I had the same reaction. Like, he looks like he's in some 50s kids comic. Ghost.
Yes. Oh man, that's good.
Yes, Glenn, his shoes should be flying off when he gets shot. It looks like he got shot that hard.
Yeah, you're right. He's got one of those like that guy's just like blown back 6 feet or something.
Yep. Knocked him out of his kids.
Yeah.
His wingtips.
All right. Yeah, let's go to the next page. So yeah, Lomax tells Bobby, you'll be okay. I'll be back to talk to you after I report to headquarters. And I like that he's like, oh yeah. And he's like, okay, next time, please, you're gonna have to come up with a story that makes some sense. Then slams the front door, goes out of view. And I actually noticed, like, rereading issue 2 and 3, swear to God, this exact same plot point comes up in both issues. To where Lomax is just like, hey, person I know, okay, closes the door. And the person's like, hey, bad guy, I think he's on to us.
It's like the going down the fake stairs. All right, bye.
It is. It's like, oh, that is exactly what Bobby does. She calls somebody. She says, we're in trouble. Vincent's onto us, and I think Lomax is putting it together. It's like, I'll explain everything later. Pack up the money. I've already made arrangements for our flight. Then whoever's on the other end says, yeah, like, pack some things and get over here fast. And so, yeah, she throws something into a suitcase, goes out of her apartment, catches a taxi, says 318 East 77th Street. And then, so of course, Lomax is watching her. And just like, I get the feeling I'm not going to like what I see. She's running scared. So he's followed her. And she goes up and goes inside and is hugging on man, obviously, her lover, who says, go, Vincent. So Vincent got wise. Well, he can't go to the cops. That money I ripped off would send him to prison for a century. But then she says, but Steve, Lomax, And then Lomax is like, oh, I think he, and Lomax says, knows. Right, Bobby. Why'd you do it, Brooks? Because it's Steve Brooks. It's the guy who we thought got blowed up.
Dead cop.
Dead cop, but he's alive. And then, yeah, she's like, Lomax. And then it goes back to Steve, who's shooting right at us. Just says, blam. Which I did like, again, but that beat there made me laugh. For some reason, it's just like, oh, yeah, there he is. I love how they have the briefcase open with all the money. Well, yeah. Of course, gun on it, the whole deal. And then, yeah, but that last panel, blam. I don't know, just the way that Steve is drawn, just the way that his hand is so like big and weirdly defined and, strange place. I don't know. It was, I don't know. Again, it's that just, it's slightly off enough that it made me laugh hysterically at a few different moments.
Yeah, same. Like, I love this row. If it didn't have the word balloons, I think it'd be like perfect, like pop art, like Liechtenstein kind of like pop art thing from like the 70s.
Absolutely. It made me think that maybe like, Sekowsky and Al McWilliams may have made like a much stronger issue of comic art here that's just kind of fucked up by the balloons. Like, I think there's a case to be made about that.
Yep. 100%. We've seen the swing over a generation to like having no narration and just having characters, or no thought balloons, and just having narration and speech. But, I think maybe, I don't know, maybe we just need less of everything. More art, less story. I think we're all pretty smart. We can figure out what's going on here, except for the Lomax.
Yeah.
Like, why did you do it, Brooks? Isn't that really, I guess the whole, like, why Vincent, I it's all important, but it's so close to being brilliant. and it's just not.
Yeah, I know. But even okay, I'm going to go back. So look at that panel where Bobby's going up the stairs, and we see Lomax in the mirror. They're like, that's a cool fucking panel.
It is, except that is not how mirrors work. It
is not how mirrors work.
That's not.
It is a yeah.
Is that like that angle doesn't make sense for right? That's Abraham Lincoln looking right into a mirror. Yeah. We're Abraham Lincoln looking in a mirror. But Lomax is at this angle. That would not do that.
Yeah.
Other than that, I love that panel.
Yeah, it's cool.
There's a lot to say for the art in here, actually. A lot to be said. I mean, okay, so we're moving on here. The story is coming to an exciting conclusion. So yeah, Lomax has been shot by Steve Brooks. He says, "Let's split." My God, why did you have to shoot him? Shut up and move. Again, another great fucking panel here. Lomax in the foreground, sprawled out on the ground, smoking gun as he grabs a briefcase full of money. This is exciting stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then Lomax sits up. "Steve, you fool, stop." And again, just a constant Rorschach of like, whose face is this? I don't know. Looks completely different every time I see him. The hero of our book got shot like the 8th page into his debut, which is, whatever. We're going to find that's a trope with him, by the way. So he staggers down the stairs. He follows as they go tearing off. You can hear the music coming up if this were a TV show. "Steve!" And then he's chasing after him again. Anybody can ID Lomax's car? Please tell us. It's some kind of cool fucking sports job. I can tell you that much. Steve's driving wildly while shooting out, saying, "The clown keeps coming." And beautiful last row here on this page. Just a you can just hear all the squealing tires in the tunnel, echoing off of the tile of the tunnel in New York. Honk honk, beep beep. Zam. We got a fucking zam. This story has everything in it.
It does have everything. I for some reason I laughed because you have thud, crash. I wanted zam to be the sound of him hitting the garbage cans.
Oh, it has to be.
It has to be, right?
Yeah.
But no, you're right. That last row, those 3 panels, that's good shit. That's a really, really good row.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I
legit enjoyed that last row a lot.
Yeah. Okay. So we are, we're definitely coming to the end here. So the chase continues onto the main highway, where a lot of I love it. In that second panel, we get 2 motorists shaking their fists at like, "Crazy idiots! I'll murder you!" And which is I did love those reactions. And then we get to the end. So Lomax is I like it. We finally haven't gotten a whole lot of hard-boiled narration. No. Like a little, like in the first page, and then a little bit as it's starting to end. So we get like Lomax strains at the wheel, favoring his throbbing shoulder as Brooks pulls into the private airport. And they pull right up to an airplane. Who doesn't love that? You gotta love that. And he goes, they're like, "There's the plane," Bobby says. "Hurry, Lomax is right behind us." And then, Steve's like, "Okay, pilot, rev her up." Bobby's like, "Oh, okay, let's go." Hey, you're not the pilot. Bruce is like, "You're," and then bam, 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 it's Vincent. He says, "Vincent, a guy who doesn't like to get taken anytime, any place, anyway." And so Vincent gets his revenge by killing Brooks.
Yeah, so much for the big boss distancing himself from his dirty work.
No, he's gonna do all the work. Yeah,
my understanding of how crime bosses work. It's personal, I guess. Maybe this is one of those deals where it's personal. I did mention that our hero got shot, but Cookie Madison says Steve McGarrett got shot in every other episode of Hawaii Five-0. I don't know if that's. I've never seen an entire episode of Hawaii Five-0 in my life, so I can't vouch for that. I believe you. I trust you.
Yeah.
Hey Ben, how you doing, Ben? He says that was his favorite page of the whole story for sure. I think he meant the last one. That was a great page. Good storytelling on that last page. Ready for the final dramatic conclusion of the first?
Yeah. Take us home.
All right. So, vengeful Vincent now grabs the money just as Lomax arrives. Lomax! We just start shooting at Lomax's car. Bobby says, Steve, because Steve is on the ground. Lomax turns up the high beams, blinding the mobster. He jumps out. He's almost entirely in silhouette. Give it up, Vincent. You're finished. Great panel here with a negative space, just the white background from the high beams, I guess, playing on the tarmac. He drops the briefcase and his gun as he gets shot. I love the weird touch of having the smoke be fuchsia, like in the, just as a, I don't know, just a weird impressionistic thing. And then Lomax is still almost entirely in silhouette, just light highlights. You almost pulled it off, Bobby. I guess Vincent started to get suspicious when I came down on him. Too bad a good cop went off the rail. He's dead. Oh, Steve. I love Vincent, just dead eyes, just staring there with worthless money, just blowing away in the rotors of the small airplane.
Yeah, like The Killing. This is basically The Killing.
This is, this Dollar General killing. So last row here, he says, so is another guy. So she says, Steve is dead. So is another guy, the guy who turned on the ignition and got blown to bits. Who was he, Bobby? One of the bouncers at the club. I conned him into moving the car. Now lay off, Lomax. That rat Vincent killed Steve. Lights up another cheroot. Maybe, but the real Steve Brooks died before this, when he sold out his badge and his friends. Greed killed him. And George Vincent. It happens. Leave off, Lomax. It's even too late for that. Steve's troubles are over, but yours have just started. Toots. The end. I added the toots in. To feel like if I felt like I needed a baby or something.
He did needed a baby. He did need one of those at the end. Yeah, again, one of those leave off, Lomax. Not one I've heard a ton.
Leave off, yeah.
Leave off.
Like shove off or something, some kind of Britishism. I don't know. That was... And she looks weird. Like that looks like a Sonic Youth album cover or something, doesn't it?
Yeah, she looks weird. Like I say, the faces on this first part are wildly different from panel to panel. So...
Like, look at her in the, she was like a blow-up doll in that one when she's looking over her shoulder at him.
Yeah, she does. She looks plastic.
And his gun looks weird. Like, it's like the perspective or something. It looks like it's made out of licorice. Like, what the hell is going on? This row particularly felt really wonky. But I did like the touch of him just walking off. Like, he's so disgusted with her. He's just done. And he just knows. You can hear the sirens, like, approaching, like, the rest of the cops are coming. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to get a hot dog.
Yeah, he loves hot dogs. That's established later on.
And he's getting a hot dog and a couple triple bourbons or something like that. You know, some rot gut stuff. Well, gang, we just met Sam Lomax, NYPD, one of two characters in this new series.
So yeah, should we just move right on to?
Let's move right on.
All right, let's do it. So, all right, here we go. So our second story is it's Luke Malone Manhunter. Title is called Requiem for a Champ. And our cast of creators are, okay, but this is the big star of the issue for you and I, Matt. Holy shit, artist-writer Mike Ploog. This is Mike Ploog, who is basically one of our gods, one of our Mount Rushmore of Bronze Age art for our show specifically, absolutely. And co-creator of Werewolf by Night, one of our all-time favorite artists. And he has inks by Frank Springer. So were you stoked to see Ploog?
I was, but more than anything, I kind of slapped my head and was like, have I ever seen Ploog write? Like, I know he's got creator credits, but writing?
No, I mean, you know, probably he has, but I did not. I couldn't think of one. And
I don't think we covered it.
No, we did not cover it. I don't think Ploog wrote a lot of stuff, so I have stuff to say about that as this goes on. but yeah. So okay, so he's inked, and I think it's all 3 issues he's inked by Frank Springer.
Yep.
And so yeah, Frank Springer. You know, he was a freelancer in New York. And he was assistant to George Wonder for Terry and the Pirates when he was doing that after Wonder succeeded Milt Caniff. And then, so the 60s and 70s, you know, Springer was really prolific. Dell, he for penciling and inking, he did most work over at Dell. So he did stuff like Ghost Stories, movie classics, Tale from the Tomb, Toka Jungle King, you know, and he also did some. So I have one of his because weirdly enough, like I have weird spots in my comic collection where I'm just like, no, I just needed to have this. Like, so I have, I think most of the issues of Big Valley, the Big Valley adaptation.
Oh, wow.
You know, starring Miss Barbara Stanwyck. And,
Yeah.
And he was an artist on most of those. So don't ask me why. Well, okay. Alicia and I do like Big Valley. I'll come out and say it. Big Valley's pretty good.
I've never like seen a whole episode, I don't think.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's good, but we really enjoyed it. And I just, again, I think what cracked us up more than anything is that Barbara Stanwyck, you know, her credit is Miss Barbara Stanwyck. Like that's what she went by in Big Valley. It was like she got the big credit. But you know, he would do Brain Boy, I guess was another one of his big ones. It's that government agent who's telepathic and is super weird. That's a good one to check out if you ever check that. Yeah, that was part of Four Color. Pardon me. Four Color comics were kind of like what they called the adaptations of a lot of different stuff.
Okay.
And but I think what he's most famous for, what I was reading, was drawing this this comic called The Adventures of Phoebe Zeitgeist. And that's two words. It's Zeit-Geist. And it's written by Michael O'Donnell, and it was published in the Evergreen Review, which I think, you know, some kind of college comic probably. But it was an adult comic. It wasn't quite like Little Annie Fanny, but it was less about sex and more about like weird torture and like kind of brutal violence. And so I think that's what he's kind of, you know, renowned for. I think that's kind of, you know, what him doing this pretty explicit title is, I think, what a lot of people would know him from. But we're going to see him again in the Atlas Seaboard season. He's going to ink both issues of The Cougar.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Phoebe Zeitgeist?
Yeah, The Adventures of Phoebe Zeitgeist.
And that was one that was published in Evergreen
Review. And it was from 65 to 66. So pretty early, you know, for pretty explicit stuff.
You don't think it's Evergreen in Olympia, do you?
I mean, that would be amazing if it was. That's Evergreen College, you know? Yeah.
Huh.
But
I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, I was curious about that. But yeah, let's talk about this title page. So again, so this was just talk about art whiplash. You know, you went from stuff that was good in parts, but that we also kind of laughed at a lot. Then you open, you know, you turn the page, and suddenly here we are. This is Ploog. He's channeling his hero, Will Eisner. Yet again, you know, the title is built into the wall with bullet holes above it. There's a bullet-riddled bum who's crumpled in the alley in such a weird way, like an unsettling way. Like in a way that, yeah, like a guy, and he's been shot like 30 times or something. And so it's a way that a guy riddled with bullets would fall onto, like, you know, his little lean-to filled with, like, you know, bags of garbage and moldy food. And yeah, really, really cool. And so yeah, some of the narration I think is really funny. The top especially. So we'll learn. This is how we learn of Luke Malone Manhunter. So it isn't paradise, but it's my city, San Francisco, from its seedy slums to chic Nob Hill. I love it. I'm an ex-cop whose private investigator's license reads Lucius G. Malone, but only my mother could get away with calling me that. So, cousin, if you got a call me Luke Malone Manhunter. So I really feel like Ploog was having a lot of fun with this. I honestly think it's one of his very few writing credits. I'm not going to say first, but I honestly can't think of when else he would have fucking written a story. He didn't do that much work. Like, he's not doing 1,000 issues. Like, he didn't do a ton of stuff, and he mainly just did art. Like, I know he has creator credit. I know he's had story by credits, but he's writing this, he's dialoguing this thing. And it's great. And he's really channeling this like, you know, he really is channeling more noir in this than in the first story. Then Lomax is channeling, obviously we're talking about Dirty Harry, all this stuff. This is channeling noir more than anything.
Definitely.
And sometimes it works and sometimes it's pretty clunky, but I do love that he went all in, like with the noir narration, talking about this bum at the bottom. He says he was a harmless unknown, an old panhandler, never so much as swatted a fly off his rum-soaked hide. Yet someone blew him away in a very professional manner with a submachine gun. And just a killer opening page. I love Luke Malone, kaiju above everything. You got the Golden Gate Bridge. You got I'm just like, fuck, this is awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, this is Primo Ploog, like you said. Like the Eisner comes out. It made me miss Werewolf by Night splash pages, which we just would always geek out over. The kaiju, the working the title into the environment. Like I love all this stuff, man. And like Ben said, you can smell this alleyway just coming off the page. That's great.
Yeah. Thank you to Cookie Madison, who agrees, who says, I loved Big Valley. Never knew anyone else did too. I think all of us have been hiding and keeping it in, but I knew there was others out there like me who have a love for Big Valley. So thank you. I feel validated tonight.
If I ask you a question, I'm not trying to put you on the spot here, but you claim to be a fan. Is that the show that I think his name is Peter Breck was on?
Is Peter Breck one of the actors? That I'm not sure.
Okay.
Look, it's all Miss Barbara Stanwyck for me. I mean, that's all I'm paying attention to.
Okay, I'm trying to remember. There's like an episode of Mystery Science Theater that's it's either the Beatniks or it's about some type of beatnik like group of ne'er-do-wells, and they get in like a bank heist or something like that. But there's a dude named like Peter Breck, and they kept referencing the show he was on. I thought it was Big Valley, but I might be off.
No, it is. Just checked. Yeah. Peter Breck is the main guy. Well, okay, so you'll pay attention to Miss Barbara Stanwyck, but Linda Evans is on it too. So that's another big deal. So
I like Linda Evans.
Please check out Big Valley.
Okay, well, Glenn Lash says Lee Majors was also on it.
Lee Majors was also on it. So yeah, it's a good cast.
But I understand that Miss Barbara Stanwyck is obviously the headline. So
yeah,
I get that. Okay, so we're moving on here. We see this poor guy in the foreground. There's a guy taking a picture of his body. And he's like, you mean this old Duff was around for years and nobody knows his name? And the guy, this cop or whoever says, this part of Frisco crawls with unknown bums. Okay. I don't want to get into a whole thing here about the West Coast, but it is common knowledge, at least on the West Coast, no one calls San Francisco Frisco. That is
they don't like it.
Yeah, that's like calling someone comrade and trying to pass as a Russian spy in this country. Like, it doesn't happen. It's not a good thing. It's like saying Cali. Nobody says Cali either. That's not a real thing people do. No. So I don't know where Ploog lived, but he definitely does not live in California because the Frisco thing tips his hand. But he says, you get to where you don't even notice them, and then a voice off panel says, "I know them," and we get this great panel with just a white background and this kind of cool splotch of pink, and the old cop, and then we see our titular hero Luke Malone come in. Malone, I should have guessed, a friend of yours, no doubt. Stow it, Brody. He was the little champ. And I just love how forlorn, like the way Ploog does, he's hyper expressive, like everything's severe. Like, look at this profile we're looking at right here on the left. Like, looks like a fucking caricature of Bob Hope. Like, all the features are just sharp and jagged, like a seismograph. And everyone's just, so morose and all the heavy shadows. And, it's amazing. The guy says, little champ, right? He says, at what, drinking? Look, nobody machine guns a derelict for no reason. This man had a past, I tell you. Don't bust my chops, Malone. This is police business. Interfere and I'll run you in. Just reminding us, this guy doesn't have a badge, right? He's just a private citizen now. Okay, don't get unglued. It's just that him and me, we carried each other home from time to time. So we're getting all these little... police writing is not great, but he does a good job of revealing little nuggets here and there. Like, okay, so Malone's had some rough nights. And so we've learned from this exposition here that he was shacked up with a lady named Annie, an ex-burlesque queen, and now she cleans up the discotheque below. And we get to see him climbing the stairs in this like shithole, and there's like empty milk bottles. I mean, the color palette's just super nice and moody. And he comes in, and he's like, "Hey, Annie, are you here? What the?" and he's interrupted some ne'er-do-wells going through stuff, and you can see it's just a right shithole. And then, great action. I mean, Ploog always does like fights and stuff, just dynamics, action scenes so well. Some thug picks up a chair, cracks over Malone's back. He grabs a dude by the shirt, punches a guy. I think he elbows the dude that grabs him. Says, "Get him, Mondo! I'm coming." The guy has a stick. He's like, "So long, sucker!" Crack, and he hits him on the head. Oh, did I jump onto your page? I'm sorry.
Yeah, but no problem. So yeah, I totally agree. Those 4 panels are amazing. Like I've loved Ploog's art these last 2 pages, but goddamn, those 4 panels just reminded me of Jack Russell, fighting with the bikers specifically in what's like issue 3 or something. And
he got his ass whooped almost every issue.
He did, yes. But that's the classic, we talked about that. That's the classic noir thing. Is that your noir hero needs to get the shit beaten out of him, like constantly. And so yeah, it's definitely what happens here, but in perfect Ploog style. The last row is girl comes out, she's like, "We came up when you heard. Are you okay?" He's like, "I'll live." Like, "Who were they, Malone?" Molly says. He says, "Never mind, Molly, the champ. He's been shot, he's dead." And I love how Molly's face is so great. Like, I love how when she goes from what she looks like in that first panel, in the second panel, her face, it's like it just slides down because she's because she's so upset because the champ was just, she found out the champ was dead. I don't know. Ploog, the way Ploog does expressions is so cool and unique. And I thought just that transition between those 2 panels, I fucking loved. And then she's overcome with grief. And last panel, "You're wrong, you're mistaken. Not my little champ." He's like, "Sorry, Molly." So yeah, Ploog's doing noir great at this point.
Okay, wait a minute. Jason Feinstein just pointed out something. It says Annie and Molly are the same person, right? I just realized I did not catch this. I thought Annie was the old lady and Molly was the young lady, but
no, Jill is the young lady.
Who's Annie? Annie, are you okay?
Annie, are you okay?
Annie? Who is Annie?
Okay, the little champ's lady was Annie, an ex-burlesque queen. So yes, it does seem like, yeah, you're right, Jason. So he's going in there to look for Annie. But then he calls her Molly. So yeah, that was a little confusing to me, but do you think that's a mistake, Bob?
I don't know. I think we got a no prize going to Jason.
Yeah, Jason, you always get the no prizes. Yeah.
I did not catch that. I do remember like a little confusion between the 2 women in this scene, but yeah, you're right. Okay. Well, shall we move on? I will try not to bite on your pages anymore. Sorry about that. So yeah, this continues here. She says, "Sniff, the champ, he was all I had." And Luke's like, "What? Why were they after him? He was a derelict. What does he have worth stealing? I mean, this apartment is like a Playboy like cartoon drawing of like a shithole, like broken mirror. Again, there's plaster missing off the walls. There's just crap laying around, broken vase on a side on the vanity." And then she says, "Look, Malone, he was no bum. He was a champ." He's like, "What was his real name, Molly?" And she's like, "I don't know, but he gave me this ring. It says lightweight champion 1940. We was engaged." Like, this is like the most pathetic, like over the top, like melodramatic. And I love it. I'm here for it. I love romance comics, but it was like, she's tearing up. She's just pathetic. He gave her this ring. It's got a piece of fucking dental floss tied around it. She was wearing like a necklace. And he says, "Hey, take her to my place tonight, Jill." And she says, "Sure, I'll stay with her." He says, "He never hurt nobody." And then says, "If he was champ in 40, Goldie Glover would know about him." Okay, so Ploog, dude, some of the names in here,
I know,
bonkers.
Yeah,
like
Goldie
Hanna-Barbera cartoon, like a boxing coach or whatever, or gym owner named Goldie Glover.
Yeah. No, it kind of starts falling apart at this point. Like this is where like he was able to keep the cool noir like believability together, but I do see this as the first crack.
Yep. this is when I cocked an eyebrow, and it kind of just stayed cocked the rest of the story, like you said. So he says, Goldie Glover would know about him right down to the size of his sweat socks. Hey, Goldie, got a minute? For you, Malone, anytime. And so he's like, trivia question, Goldie. Lightweight champ, 1940. Let's see. Oh, sure. Randy McNally. Friends called him Atlas. Quite a story about him, but just a sec. Randy McNally. If you guys don't, if you're too young to remember physical books, atlases were published frequently by Rand McNally. So the fact that this guy has the name Randy McNally, of course they call him Atlas. Like all this stuff is just like, it's just too much.
No, it just drove off a corny cliff at this point. Like,
Scott just says, ugh. I agree. Yeah. Like Jacob just said, this page was like, oh
no. Okay.
I like when Mike draws stuff.
Yeah, let's go to the next page. We're gonna run into a lot more of that.
Yeah.
Okay, so Goldie kind of continues saying that he's like, Randy's manager, Sam Ruffino, was a mob man. He arranged for Randy to fight a real cream puff, but the mob gave Sam 100 G's for the kid to lie down in the second round. A lot of mob money was bet. The odds against Randy were 10-1. He says, but McNally's wife and Ruffino bet the 100 G's on Randy to win. He did. The mob lost, and Ruffino ran off with the money and the dame. Like this whole story, and Mike's like, or Luke's like, oh yeah, I remember now. Yeah, okay. You said to tell me those very basic points that every single fixed fight ever in the world, that's exactly how it goes down.
It's like a Dr. Brule. I know. I do. Wait, can you go back one? Can you go back one slide?
Yes.
Dude, Goldie's like a phrenologist would have a field day with this guy's skull. Like I feel like it should be in a museum. Look at that first panel. The way he's that's like ancient hominid. Like that's like 50,000 years old, 50 million years old or something.
Yeah, or Zippy, It's just like, it's so weird. But and then when you're saying Brule, like look at even the way that Luke's sitting, he's just like, yeah, I know. I know. So it goes down, but he goes on. He's just like, yeah, I remember they were using a getaway boat that blew up in the harbor, but there was no trace of the bodies. You see where this is going?
Yeah, we all do.
And the Goldie says, right, and no one's seen them or McNally since. And so then we get, Malone leaves. He's just, he's walking down. He tosses his cigarette, as he says, so McNally ends up in the city morgue after all these years. But why? Why was he dusted? And then I do love that panel of him looking around. He's like, looks like I just picked up something I can live without. A tail. Okay, that's the
gold.
Most... That is, it's so great and hilarious and kind of off in a weird way.
I love that panel.
Yeah.
Like,
the panel's awesome.
When Ploog makes the noir homage stuff work, I really like it. But we just had a scene that was so eye-rollingly bad that it kind of took me a while to get back into it.
Yeah, but you're right. Yeah, the art on that is so great, and it's so small and just so perfectly done.
Yeah,
and then the rest too, So immediately, we go to suddenly he's right there. Like a lot happened between these last two panels, because suddenly, Malone turns around and says, "Okay, Mac, this is the end of the line." Just thump, just gets him right in the breadbasket. He falls down. So he hits him so hard in the stomach, the guy passes out.
Yeah. Did you get the sense, Jacob, between those two rows that like Malone ducked into an alley and waited for that guy to catch up, like by listening to his footfalls, and then just stepped out and?
Yeah, it's funny because he did. Because look at the building behind him. In that, it is like he was hiding around a corner or something and waited for the guy. I don't know. It's weird, but yes, I do agree with you on that. Then he says, "Yeah, now to see where you fit in all this, friend." He gets a passport out of his jacket. Says, South American seaman Emmanuel Charo aboard the Brazilian Queen. Well, I'll be. The Brazilian stuff cracked me up. It just cracked me up. You went that way. The South American stuff is ridiculous and awesome.
Yeah. So I love that last panel. I like this whole row, actually.
Yeah.
I like that dude's face when he's getting socked in the gut. Ploog kills the art for this character. These stories.
I like that. Ben Potter says, is it me or does Malone look like a grizzled Conan O'Brien sometimes on these pages? And it does. Awesome.
I felt like, as I read the 3 different stories about Malone, that he's appeared to be like an amalgamation of Clint Eastwood and Jack Russell. Like,
there's a lot of Jack Russell. But I think specifically what he's talking about, if we can go back, look at that first panel.
Oh,
it's just Conan O'Brien. It just is. So, but yeah, you're right. But in some of these, he definitely has a Jack Russell style to him. Yeah, especially definitely that last row. So absolutely.
Wild. Okay, so moving on here. I was definitely reminded of Hammett and maybe Chandler or whatever, like where like there's points here where it's like the big sleep, where it's like, don't keep your eye on the hole, keep your eye on the donut kind of thing, where it's like there's a lot of characters, a lot of names, a lot of things going on, and a lot of them don't fucking matter. Like the Big Lebowski's whole thing is like it's a Shaggy Dog story, right? Like none of it fucking matters. Like much like Raiders of the Lost Ark, like the main character could not be in the story and it would still end exactly the same way. Right? And so that kind of happens in here, like, and so you like the Brazilian thing comes up, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna start writing these names down, and there's like, I realized like, oh, they're doing the noir thing, like the noir novel, like this is all not misdirection, but it's ultimately just like, I mean, it is kind of misdirection. It's just like it's not important.
No, none of it's important.
So he says, I got a dead friend, and sailors are beating on my head. I want answers, and they're on that ship. So he goes into a portside bar, and the guy says, Maloney, how about a drinky? He's like, later, I'm looking for the Brazilian queen. She got a sister? I love all these guys. Then they tell him she doesn't dock until 6 a.m, but her crew has been hanging out ashore now. And he says, hey, well, where are they staying? And we get a look at these guys. And they look like I don't know. This might be too far of a thing, but whatever. I won't even go there. It's too much. So they're sitting at the Savoy, and it says Bo Lester, narcotics kingpin. Now it starts to make sense, and I love him like sitting in the shadows, just kind of like lit by a street lamp or by the moon, as he's like out of view, watching these pimpish looking dudes getting out of this car at the Savoy. I didn't have to wait long for familiar face, the heavy from Molly's place. So he says, with a little luck, this place will be vacant. So they're going into apartment 806, and he just breaks into apartment 808. This was one of my favorite parts of this thing. So he climbs in. He's like, shh, keep sleeping, folks. I just want to use your balcony. Because there is a couple dead asleep in the foreground, and he's opening up their window thinking this as he's climbing out, and he's like, cripes, there's no balcony. And so it's literally just a ledge. It's like 6 inches. He's just walking on a 6-inch ledge, 8 stories up. And then he hears from the room next door, which is why he went into 806 in the first place, the ship docks at 6. We'll make the switch. Then, oh my God. So, I mean, the balls, I mean, even it's just it's just ink. You know what I mean? But I was still like, oh shit.
Like, what are you doing? Like, why are you doing that?
Yeah.
So like he's just like, it'll be vacant. It's fine. Oh shit. Okay, there's people sleeping. Okay, I'm gonna go out to the balcony. Oh fuck, there's no balcony. I probably should have looked before I stepped out.
Yeah.
Did he just not look? He just stepped out expecting. Yeah.
The tension just keeps going up and up on that. I love it.
Yeah. No, it's great. What a great page. Like these pages that work. I mean, all the pages work. You know, the dialogue and the story gets really corny. But goddamn, especially like a page like this is just, I mean, you know, I know Frank Springer is inking, but this is just Ploog. It's just Ploog, and it feels so good.
Can't you see like no thought balloons from him? Like just less is more, like photoshopping that out. Like I think a lot of this would work. Like with a little luck, this place will be vacant. You keep that. You keep in him overhearing them talking but I don't think you need. You can figure out that he broke into an apartment and he's sneaking out. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, you and I say that more often than not. We're just like, nope, we don't need anything there. Just let the art speak for it. But yeah, no, they still thought we were a bunch of dum-dums.
Yeah, because those two panels are fucking gorgeous.
Oh, they're so good. Yeah, the depth of that last one. Yeah, really, really, really cool. So, okay, next page we got. So Luke, he jumps from the ledge to a balcony, being like, only one thing to do. Here goes. We're hearing just like, mob stuff. Are you sure it's top grade? He jumps onto the balcony, but as he's just like climbing on, like holding on for dear life, one of the goons is like, look who it is, just hanging around, man. Okay, so what do we think here? Like, this is what kind of accent do you think he was going for?
It's supposed to be Portuguese, but
it's supposed to be Portuguese.
He is all around the Caribbean or something. I don't know what is going on.
Let's just, can we just say generic Caribbean is going on here? I think that's probably the safest. And so, and Luke, I like that he's just like, well, help me up, leadhead, before you draw a crowd below. So I did like that. He's kind of just like, fuck, you might as well just pull me in. You got me.
Yep.
So I did like that. I was like, okay, I always like that in my noir.
Very Jim Rockford.
It's very Jim Rockford, to where it's just that it's not defeatist, but it's just very smart. It's just like, fuck it, I screwed up. All right, let's go to the next scenario, which we do. And on the next the next bit, he goes down, is brought in, and the guy that caught him says he's clean, boss. Luke's like, sorry to drop in like this. I was in the neighborhood, and oh man. And then one of the guys just like, I thought you got rid of them, Lopez. And then Malone says, you mean like the number you did on the champ? He's like, the champ? And then his chauffeur says, Atlas McNally, Mr. Lopez. And he's like, CC. I know. He's like, I'm curious, Lopez, why'd you have him killed? Or maybe, and then you see in that panel the butt of the gun coming up behind him, thud. He says, I don't know how long I've been out, but I know I'm alive and in pain. Now I'm thinking it might be better if they put me out of my misery. But on second thought, love that last panel. Fuck, dude. That last panel is so goddamn mind-blowingly good. Just the guys in silhouette being taken, Luke's being taken out of a car. Love the bait shop, dude. The bridge, everything. This is why Ploog is a master. It's just that one. Yeah, look at that one panel. It tells you everything.
100% agree. And the first thing I saw when I was at that bait shop and just that layout and the blacks and the line, I was just like, yep, he studied under Eisner. I can fucking see it all over this, and it's gorgeous.
It is, and as many people tried to copy Eisner, like copying Eisner doesn't work, but Ploog channels them. Like Ploog channels them in a way, but makes it his own. Like he's my, out of everyone who studied under Eisner, Ploog I think is by far the most talented and got what he needed to out of Eisner, learned from him and made it his own. So not like we need to say good things about Ploog. We spent 5 years doing that. So, but here he is again.
But I would take that panel framed, like
man,
like 3x3, just that's gorgeous.
Love it.
I wonder if Ploog has that original. I mean, he definitely got it back, right? That was part of the deal.
Oh shit, you're right.
So I personally was super stoked. I'm a huge noir fan. I'm a fan of the fiction, of the noir detective fiction as well. Like, so for me, like my main character getting knocked out twice in one story, I was like, this fucking rules.
Yep. That's what you want to see.
Yeah, you want your main character to have lumps all over his head and like a black eye and like 2 broken fingers taped together from getting questioned by some gorillas, and like I love all that, the punishing shit that these guys go through, these bad luck dudes. I love it. Charlie Brown karma. All right, so we're moving on here. Stand back, man. So, this is a little weird. So he wakes up and the guy's like trying to is he like trying to pull the bolt back on the machine gun? Like, is that what the click is? So there's that buys him a second.
That buys him a second. So I basically think they just dropped him to the ground after they took him out of the car. And then, he's doing the click to machine gun him down like the champ was in the first scene.
All right. So then, he says, "Oh, look out, he's feigning," which limited English. I don't know if he'd say feigning, but that's neither here nor there. So Malone has grabbed the dude that was standing next to him behind the knee and has pulled him back. He says, "You mustn't go around cracking people in the head. They get upset." And then so the Caribbean drifter guy is like, bah, 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 bah. And he says, "No, Mondo, no." And Malone is using that dude he grabbed as a human shield. And then he goes running in this beautiful panel, diving towards us, just completely fluid and lithe towards the edge of the dock as the bullets are still going zip, 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 zip. And got a great fucking sequence there. And then that dude comes up with a machine gun to the edge of the dock. He's like, "He's gone, but I got him, I think." And then we hear a creak, crack. And then we find out that Malone had dropped just below the edge where there was a railing and shoots the dude, I imagine, in the dick. Don't you think he shot that dude in the balls?
It looks like he just got shot in the balls.
And then the dude keels over and falls in, and there's a whirlpool going, like a riptide. And the dude just sinks in it. And Luke's watching with a smoking gun of his, barrel of his gun. He says, "Look out, Satan, the Iceman cometh." I don't know about that, but I love this page, man.
Yeah, I love everything but that last line. It's perfect. The accent's a little weird, but the art and the action is perfection.
Oh, yeah, Jason pointed out that was probably a taint shot.
You're right. This is a taint forward issue, so yeah.
It's taint-tastic.
All right, penultimate page here. And Luke tells us, he's like, I pull myself together and I'm going to wrap up this whole mess. And then he goes to a bar, like at the usual bill, but in a clean glass. He's ribbing his favorite bartender. And then he calls up the cops. He's like, "Hello, Lieutenant Brody. I don't care. Wake him up." He's like, "Where are you, Brody?" As he's doing, he's talking, and then he looks out and he sees that chauffeur sitting there, and he's like, "Huh, that chauffeur, something about him." Then we got cars kind of wheeling in there, the cops, and then he says, he's like, "Hold it right there. You're not leaving this party, Ruffino. No way." And the guy's like, "Well, what do you mean?" And Malone says, "Your love for jewelry is only surpassed by your knowledge of boxing. I should have picked it up when you called the champ Atlas, but it wasn't until I saw your ring that I knew for sure." So it's the we know. Chauffeur
Ruffino?
Sam Ruffino.
We just got to go back and look at the people in this bar. This panel.
Oh my God! Right?
Look at that humanity.
Yeah.
Holy shit! A dude passed out with his pint glass tipped over. That bartender, just the wisp of hair left. Looks like a fucking Star Wars character.
He does, yeah.
And look at that lady. God, I love it.
Guy, I should have looked up her name. She reminded me. There's an actress that was just like a bartender in what John Waters went like his favorite, Baltimore bar, and that looks like her. God damn it, I can't remember her name, but she's crazy looking, and wish I knew. This
lady's amazing.
Yeah, she looks so good.
So Scott says boxing ring. I don't follow boxing. I don't know if you get rings or not, but
do you?
I don't know. I know Super Bowl people do.
Yeah.
I don't know. Shall we move on to the exciting conclusion?
Let's do it. We're so close.
Okay. So he says a champion and his manager receive identical trophy rings. Now, Lieutenant, book Sam Ruffino for the murder of Mr. Randy McNally. And Lieutenant's like, Brody.
That's it.
Yep. When are you going to stop interfering with police business, Malone? This is first thing tomorrow, Brody. And then so we're back with the old gal that he was shacked up with. So Ruffino had the mob thinking he was killed in the boat explosion, huh? Yeah, I love how all of these stories just wrap up in like the last few panels, just like this huge info dump. Yeah, Molly, meanwhile, down south, he made a fortune in smuggling. Then when he thought it was safe, he came back for the big deal. I love he's taking a shower, right? Because he just got his ass whooped. He's been in every dirty bar in Frisco. Sorry.
Yeah.
And he's only to be spotted by the champ, who believed him responsible for the death of his wife. That's why the champ was killed, to keep him from spilling the beans. I don't know how to thank you, Malone. The champ can rest at last. And then Jill says, "You're a doll, Malone. I know how to thank you." And then she goes pss, 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 in his ear, telling him something sexy. And he says, "Not now, Jill. I've got a headache." She says, "Why, I never." And then Molly says, "I'm sure you have, dearie." The end. The freeze frame and a laugh track and then applause. That's such a weird ending.
Yeah, what's with the weird ending? It's all like hard boiled until the last panel. It's like yeah. It's so weird.
I found that confusing. The tonal shift there at the end, that felt very TV, almost sitcom, but not quite. Like just like everything's wrapped up with a tiny bow on it. Just this like, blah, here's what really happened behind the scenes. The end.
Yeah, not a great ending, but yeah, great to see Ploog though.
Yeah, always good to see Mr. Ploog. Yes. So, should we do our shout outs, Mr. Jacob?
Yeah, let's do our shout outs.
Okay. So, I don't know if you guys know this, but many of our show's listeners support the podcast by becoming Patreon members. There are several tiers of support to fit every budget, but the most popular one is Pack Member. That's $5 a month. They get the weekly bonus show and audio and video format and some special gated content that the other tiers below that don't get. They also have access to the entire archive. So I believe we'll be publishing episode 115 in a couple weeks. So there's 114 other bonus show episodes for you to check out where we talk about movies, other comics. We've been doing comics mostly lately. Back when we were Werewolf by Night, we did werewolf movies. Then when we did Bronze Age Buffet, we did a different monster movie for every monster we were reading about. Jacob talks about the work he does at the library where he lives. We do all kinds of stuff like that. It's great, and people seem to love it. And so I think you might like it. You might want to check it out. But in addition to that stuff, you also get a shout out in the into the show, like right here. So that's fine. People like Ben Potter, who was here with us tonight. Thanks, Ben.
Blake, last name with L.
Brad Elmore.
Brian Steed.
Brian from Marvel by the Month.
Caleb.
Dave Kennedy.
David D.
David Goodwin.
Glenn Lash. Good to see you tonight, Glenn.
Yes, Glenn. Thank you for being here. Grace.
Greg Rowland.
James Shagus.
Jared from the Swords and Scrolls podcast.
Jason W.
Jeff Fitzpatrick.
Jerry from Buffalo.
Justin the Owl.
Kyle from the Heartland.
Letty.
Letty, I hope you're feeling better. Matt Harvey.
Michelle from Moonlit Comics. Miss you, Michelle.
Yeah, we miss you, Michelle. Pat Svek.
Rob from Marvel by the Month.
Russ from Tomes of Evil and Taste the Pot of Dracula.
All right, we have a new pack member, right, Matt?
Yes, we do.
Who is known as Shadavid.
That's what we're calling him.
That's what we're calling. Hopefully, I haven't butchered that too much.
Yes, when people do join a shout out tier, I do shoot a note and say, "Hey, thanks so much," and let us know if we can do anything to make the experience even more awesome for you. And please let us know how you want to be called out in the shout outs and how you want your name said. And I didn't hear back, so if I don't say your name back, we just take our best guess. So that is our best guess. Mr. Tony Iupi.
Tim Tucker.
And Worm Drive Pro.
Yeah, so thanks so much to all the pack members. But there is another tier. There is a higher tier for all of our celestial barbarian deities. They are called the Star Gods. And so Star Gods get everything that the pack members get. They get access to everything that we've done, but they also get special gated content, stuff that we've only made for pack members. For Star Gods. Star Gods also get things first that are sometimes related to the lower tiers. Yes.
Jacob, I've decided, I forgot to tell you this. I've decided what the next thing is just for Star Gods.
Oh, sweet. I was going to ask.
So we did the Shoggoth, the Saga of the Shoggoth, whoever that was, remember? And we had a great time with that. I want to go back to Skywald and do the human gargoyles.
Oh, sweet. No, that's great.
So that would be our next Star God thing.
Oh, that's awesome.
Sorry to interrupt you. I didn't want to forget.
Yeah, no problem. So also, if you're a Star God, of course you're going to get shout outs on the main show. And so these are fine folks like Ben M.,
Bill Eschbach,
Brink,
Eric Hadley,
Jason Finestone.
Thanks for being here tonight, Jason. Jesse McFerrin,
John Walsh,
Josh Link. I saw Josh in the chat. Hey, Josh.
MJ,
Mark Nivens. Thanks for being with us tonight, Mark.
Melissa Watts,
Michael Giacchino,
Ryan from across the Bifrost,
and Jackson T. Overstreet, our Uber patron. Thank you so much to all of the Star Gods for supporting the show. We really appreciate you. And there is a small matter for one of the Star Gods. John Walsh is a Star God, as we said his name. And he sent us a note. And he has a favor to ask of us, and we're happy to pass this along. He said, hello, I'm a proud Star God supporter of Bronze Age monsters. I'm also a professor at Indiana University, conducting research in the area of comics studies. A PhD student and I are conducting a survey to learn more about the fandom activity of binding floppy comics, which I learned about through your testimonials on the show. I'm writing to ask if you could mention our survey, invite your listeners to participate, and share the link in your show notes for an upcoming episode of B.A.M. I wrote John back and said, hell yeah, couldn't be more on board for this. So what you're seeing on screen here, if you're seeing the video version of this, is the practice. We've talked about this all on the show, taking floppies or single issues of comics and then sending them off to a binder like Hushin is probably the one that's most commonly used now, and having them their spines lopped off and them all glued together in a binding. And this can go from something simple like library binding, like you're seeing on the right, where it's just you pick out foil stamp, just what it says, you pick the color and the foil stamp color of the letters, and they just stamp it on, and it's no muss, no fuss. This is what I do. But they have done crazy advancements in where you can send in, on the left, you're seeing somebody sent their Conan comics in, and it's amazing. I mean, people go fucking crazy designing these sleeves to be printed directly onto the thing or as dust jackets and adding them. And it's amazing. If you just Google like comic binding project on Google image search and just look at some of the stuff people do, they go crazy. And the trade dress is as good or better, in my opinion, than most of the major publishers. So I love seeing them. So yes, I have one big last heist to me, Jacob. I'm sending off DC, the Mike Kaluta Shadow stuff. And
Nice.
There is some DC fantasy comic that Jared from Swords and Scrolls got me into. I forgot, blanking on the name right now, but it's like Claw or something like that. I'm sending that off. And I think that I'll be done binding after that, but I'm sending off 2 more things to do. You have anything in your hopper?
Yeah, I do. And now it's escaping me, of course. But yeah, I just ended up getting a lot of my comics back that were in storage, and stuff, because now we're in a bigger place and I can actually fit everything. And so, yeah, I'm going to be going. I had one in mind. I can't remember now, but I'm going to be going through, and I think I'm going to have one last big run too. But for people that might just be jumping on, Matt and I talking about binding comics is part of the DNA of this show. It is something that we love and that we love to do, and it is part of our ethos. This is what we believe. We believe that comics should not be sealed in lucite, that the comics are supposed to be put in your back pocket as you cross a stream and go to a tree house. This is something that should not be fetishized and should be used for its intended purpose. And so that's why I think, Matt, you and I like binding, because it forces the medium to be used for its intended purpose. So once you chop these fucking spines off, once you put it into a book, that's it. You can only do one thing with it. You can only read it.
Yep.
Nope, you can't. You can't resell it. I mean, you could. I mean, yeah, some of these are resell, but it has no value anymore. You can't CGC that shit. So it's making a sacrifice to have this form be as it is intended.
Yep. So we started some hashtags back in season 1 when we started talking about this. Hashtag destroy to enjoy. and bind them to set them free. Those were two things that we put forward. I love talking to comic collectors about this and seeing people's horrified looks on their faces when they find out you took 50-year-old comics and destroyed them. Yes, I fucking did, and I'll do it again. I'm a mad bomber.
I think both of us do love that. It's not as intense as it was like 10 years ago. I think people are starting to kind of come around to the bind, but I feel like back then you would say this and be like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Do you have brain damage? Why would you do that? Yeah. And just, but we loved that. We loved kind of, it is the most punk rock thing you can do with valuable comics. Just like, fuck it. Yeah.
We believe in nothing, Lebowski. So my request for you listening or watching is, if you're watching this on YouTube, please go down to the description of this episode, and there's a link to, it says John's survey. Please answer John's survey. I haven't done it yet. I'm going to do it after the show tonight.
Me too.
But I think that this isn't like like if you haven't done binding yet, but you're a comics fan, do the survey anyway. I think he wants to know the interest of the average comics reader or every comics reader in this. So even if you think this might not apply to you, but you like comics, please do the survey. It would help John to get this data. So I'd really appreciate that. And if you're just listening to the audio version of this on your podcast app, please go in the show notes, and the link is in there. So please help John out. Give him some data. He's been a great Star God supporter from way back, many years at this point. And I love anybody who takes academics and applies it to the comics field, because as we say all the time, I mean, this is my favorite medium. So anytime that it wants to study it, legitimize it, spread the word, turn people around to the great power of this medium, I'm all for it. So please help us out and do John's survey. Thank you. Okay. So there was a letters column. There was 3 issues of this. Jacob, do you want to be good cop or bad cop for this letters column? I have 2 letters.
I think I was bad cop last time. I'd like to be the good cop.
Okay. I think you go first here then. Yep.
Okay. Dear Atlas, Yahoo! Competition! Who said the American system was finished? Now there are 3 big comic companies. I shouldn't laugh as I say that, but I am laughing. I hope you can pull it off. Marvel was super for about 12 years and is now showing signs of age and disorder. National hasn't been marvelous in about 15 or so years. So I guess your timing is right. I just hope the economy is. By the way, I enjoyed issue 1 of Police Action to no end. I've also enjoyed Ironjaw, Wolf, Planet of Vampires, Scorpion, and Phoenix. I won't go into a detailed critical analysis at this time, but I had to drive approximately 400 miles to find them all. And there are others like Grim Ghost and Morlock 2001 that I haven't been able to find at all. Now, everybody is not crazy like I am. If all your fans in America, and who knows where else, must drive 400 miles to buy 6 magazines, the gas shortage will get worse. Then the president would blame the comic book, and Congress would pass a law making comics illegal. Then everyone making comics in the whole country would have to underground and grow beards. And so please straighten out your distribution. Maurice Tully, Sacramento, California. Okay. All right. The reply is, we don't want a revolution. Besides, Robin's not old enough to grow a beard. Seriously, we're sorry for any inconvenience you may have suffered because of poor distribution. We're doing our best to remedy the situation, and we've just about got it licked. So in the future, you won't have any problems obtaining our books. We hope. So it's a great letter. It's an absolutely great. Yeah. Josh Link says, incredible letter from start to finish. It is. I have so many questions for Maurice.
Oh, boy.
What's your day job? Did you really drive 400 miles to get these 6 Atlas comics? Your fandom is that big. These comics made such an enormous impression on you that you had to drive all this way.
I can almost relate. Like, I grew up in North Bend, Coos Bay, Southern Oregon coast, redneck town, pre-internet, and I was into music passionately. And the closest place to get real music, aside from ordering it from the local record store and waiting 2 months for it to show up, was to drive to Eugene or Portland. And I will admit that I have driven 4 hours to go buy some albums because I desperately needed music. I don't know if young people understand how hard it was to be a person that had non-mainstream taste before the internet.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure the stuff you were driving to Eugene or Portland for was a little cool. Was a little okay. All right, it was equally as cool as the Atlas comics then. Yeah.
No, I mean, I was into, once I discovered underground stuff existed, and like, Nirvana, like Sub Pop, Bleach and stuff like that. I was like, oh my God, there's labels that make stuff that you can't hear on MTV 120 minutes.
Yep.
And then, then I started going to concerts, and then I started seeing flyers on telephone poles after those concerts. And then it was just a rabbit hole. And again, that was all hard to do back then because there was no internet to help you hunt the stuff down, let alone hear it. And we bought a lot of albums just blind, just like, I hope this is good. Completely Grocery. That's an interesting band name. Hope I like the music I just spent $14 on.
Did you like Completely Grocery?
Yeah, I had a couple songs.
I liked it okay. I had their T-shirt that was the Tootsie Roll wrapper.
Yeah.
And I bought that at a show at La Luna. So there's our age, everybody.
Yep. So I get, my point was I get being passionate enough about something. I don't think I don't think Atlas Seaboard is the thing.
That's what I'm getting at, is the quality of these Atlas Seaboard Well, he started it out being like, well, they're the number 3 company, right?
I get the excitement of a new thing. I get like the like, holy shit, this is like a watershed moment in comics. Like, imagine, I'm going to tell my kids, like, I remember when that freaking comic was published, Wolf the Barbarian, right? I bet it felt that way. I bet it was exciting. So, I mean, I kind of get it, but not like 400 miles worth.
No, they're just not good enough. They're not.
Plus, at this point, like, I don't know if we see them in these actual mags, but like in Marvel, there was already those full page things where like, we sell comic books and we're in San Diego, and just send us a quarter and we'll send you a full thing of every comic we have, and you can get them for like 10 cents. And so there was ways around this. In Sacramento, no less. He could have driven to a comic show like in San Francisco, or I don't know, whatever.
Oh yeah. Sacramento. He's not. Yeah. He's not in, he's not some
pig
rural
fuck Alabama or something.
No, it's not. Oh yeah. Maurice, you're I don't know about you, my friend.
Jason says that he and Maurice have similar comic shopping style. And Ben says, driving 400 miles during a gas shortage? I don't know.
Right.
I don't get it either. Boy. Okay, so that's that letter. Larry, police action was reminiscent of the Golden Age police comics. It was almost just as poorly done. Sam Lomax was so poorly done so as not to be believed. Mike Sekowsky has proved his inability to storytell, and Jack Younger's dialogue was another laugh-a-minute farce. Now for Luke Malone, Manhunter. Hilarious to no end. Mike Ploog's bad script was exceeded only by his even worse pencils. The whole mess was worsened by Frank Springer's bad inking. Apparently, you're trying to cash in on the rough and tough type cop or investigator a la TV's Mannix. Unfortunately, it's not going to work. Mike Kenwell, Brooklyn, New York.
Well, he's tough. He's a tough New Yorker. I get it.
Yeah. I mean, so Jack Younger or whatever, Russ Jones, dialogue, it was laugh-a-minute farce. It was bad.
It was really bad.
Loving it.
Yeah.
Mike Sekowsky, inability to storytell. I don't know. We liked his layouts. We didn't always like the finishes, but we liked the layouts.
Yeah.
And then just saying Ploog's pencils were bad and Springer's inking. I think Springer's might be one of my favorite Ploog inkers. Especially in the upcoming stuff that we didn't talk about. I don't want to get ahead of myself. Okay. Ben says Mike Kenwell sounds like a cop. Narc. Okay, let's wrap this thing up.
All right.
For the rest of the story, there were 2 more issues. Here's that Ramita girl that I was calling out. Jacob, we got 2 more stories from each of these characters. And the first one, I just grabbed a couple panels here. So in the first one, Gary Friedrich, Surprise, surprise. I think we need like a
Wow.
button you push when Gary Friedrich has entered the chat. Just like red lights.
Confetti falls down. Yeah.
So both of Gary Friedrich's stories for his first thing on here are both about hostage situations, which I thought was a weird choice.
It's weird.
So we get a great panel here from Lomax of like the guy, saying what? Like basically a cabbie has kidnapped 3 people and driven them onto the LaGuardia airport and said, give me $1 million and a plane to South America or I'm dusting these squares. And Lomax is like, I'm on my way. And they're like, wait, Lomax, wait, whatever. And he doesn't give a shit. And he's like out on the tarmac, like hiding behind a wheel of a plane, like pointing his gun at the dude, trying to snipe a dude with the fucking like 357. Like it's bonkers. I just love this guy like shaking his fist, like it's the mayor and the commissioner like yelling about him. However, whatever happened to Luke Malone is a story that explains how Malone's last gig as a cop, what caused him to leave the force. What did you think of that? I fucking loved it.
I loved it. I thought it was absolutely great. And I loved that, and I liked that move, I thought it was kind of cool because the inverse has been the Atlas way to where, they're like, okay, origin. Okay, now we can do what we want. But we kind of got dropped in on Luke Malone, got the feel for him. And then we went back to the flashback and figured out how he became who he is. And it's great.
I love that, like you just said, like that we meet Luke Malone and you get the sense that he's an ex-cop. I mean, he's an ex-cop, but you get the sense that he crawled into a bottle after something happened and then crawled back out after a time and started being a private detective. Like that's loaded with potential. And I loved it. Even though we didn't love Ploog's writing every line, we loved the art and we liked the character and the fact that this is a throwback and homage to older stuff that we love from detective fiction. And this story I thought was fucking fabulous.
It was fabulous. Friedrich really, really took it seriously, I think. And I think him working with Ploog and Springer, I thought they were just in lock with each other. It was great.
Yeah, I don't know if we want to even spoil like the ending of this one. I think I would recommend you check this out. It's on archive.org.
It's easy to find.
Why Luke Malone's not a cop anymore. I think it's worth checking out. But the art from Ploog and is it Springer still, you said?
Yeah.
Is fucking gorgeous. I mean, look at this row up here. I mean,
I know.
Just powerful stuff. It's about a bank hostage situation in a bank. There's a great panel that Jared posted on our Discord. By the way, join our Discord, folks, if you like chatting with fun people and nice people.
Big glass.
Big glass. Yes. I might even have something for that.
I love it.
Beautiful fucking panel. It's like David Mazzucchelli or something like that. I mean, or like Frank Miller. I mean, it's just gorgeous. And that's when like Malone just literally runs through the glass of the bank and he's like, fuck it. There's hostages in the bank. I'm going in. Great stuff. Okay. So issue 3.
Oh my God.
The Lomax story is literally the opening scene from Dirty Harry.
It just is.
It's just the opening scene, like complete with him shooting a dude who's interrupting his hot dog lunch at a hot dog stand. Kind of a weird story. I won't spoil that one either. It's that's also a very funny one. The Lomax stuff just makes me laugh. I don't think it's intentional, but it's fucking hilarious.
It's not intentional, but it is really, really funny. That third issue, oh my God, the Lomax story was just fucking ridiculous. Aside from, yeah, you're right. It's just ripping off the opening scene. Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah. I mean, for God's sakes, it's titled One Hot Dog with Murder, please.
Oh God.
An interesting Malone story. I don't know if I loved it. There's this concert and he's working security there. Well, first of all, somebody's trying to rob a toll booth and he's on his way to a security gig and he just rams into them and then they run off and he just runs them off the road. They explode and he just like, hey, it's Malone. You might want to bring like a meat wagon to pick up these bodies that these people are just fucking destroyed.
Because they skipped because they robbed a toll booth. But no, he does. He's not like, oh, my car's out of control. He just literally runs them off the road before their car explodes midair, which I think is awesome. And he's like, yeah, it's just another day, man. Oh yeah, call up that meat wagon.
Yeah.
Jason Feinstein says crime doesn't pay. And you're right. That's the moral of the story right there.
Yeah, if they'd read some of those issues in the 50s, they would have known that. But we meet a character called Sally Spider, and I feel like he's supposed to be some Alice Cooper meets Ziggy Stardust meets something like glam dude.
Yeah.
The case, the crime doesn't make a ton of. I mean, it makes sense, but it's not like compelling. I didn't love this one.
I didn't like it at all.
Issue 2, the Luke Malone Manhunter story, fucking.
Yeah, so good. It was really, really good. Highly recommend reading that one.
Okay, so Jacob, let's do our final thoughts.
Okay, well, I'll go. Not going to be a shock. Right off the bat, I had more fun reading these than I had the rest of the issues. I feel like a lot of those issues, like we've said many times before over the years that we do this, we'll read a comic, we're like, this is fine. But then when you and I get together and talk about it, then we're like, oh, okay, we love this. This is great. But these, I genuinely had a great time reading while I was reading them and rereading them. Lomax got funnier. Luke Malone got cooler. And so I really genuinely enjoyed the experience of reading these 3 issues of Police Action. And talking about it, I like him even more now. Lomax is goofy and dumb, but in a way that just made me laugh so much. And Luke Malone is just fucking great. I love Ploog so much. And that's the thing, like Gary Friedrich, especially that second issue, it's so good. But Gary Friedrich, like, he can be a good writer, and he's just a great writer in that second issue, in that origin story. It's perfect 10-page story of comics. So I had a blast. I really, really love this. This is, you're having us kind of rank as we go, our issues, and not gonna lie, this is moving up there. Yeah,
I think we're in lockstep as usual. I had a blast reading these. I was talking to MJ when he was just giving me his thoughts about the exclamation marks, the surplus ones. I was just saying, I'm having like, this is the most fun I've had so far. I tell you that. I'm not going to reveal my rankings. Folks, when we do our big finale for this season, not the series finale, we'll do something special to wrap up the show. But at the end of the Atlas Seaboard, we're going to do a season finale. And we're going to reveal our rankings. We're ranking these as we go and just slotting them in. We'll do some final adjustments before that. But we're going to have people send in their votes for their favorite things, favorite title, favorite character, blah, blah, blah. But we're also going to have people choose, like, try and pick like either our bottom 5 or our top 5 or both, whatever, and see if they can guess based on our episodes what we thought. So, this one for me, I had a blast with it. I love Lomax. He's a meathead. I don't think he's supposed to be a meathead. He's a meatball. He was fucking hilarious, and I loved every story more than the last one because they just got goofier and he seemed to get dumber, like Homer. So I didn't always love Sekowsky's art, but I thought the layouts were solid. It was efficient. There was a simplicity a lot of times to the finishes that were effective. So I thought those were fun. Ploog blew my mind. Ploog and Springer. The first one was gorgeous. I love the noirish stuff. The second one broke my heart, and I absolutely adored it. And the third one I didn't really care for, but at least it looked pretty. So, I had a great time with this stuff. And this proved my theory that having a bunch of different genres was going to keep me entertained and engaged throughout this season, and it's working. So I had a great time. I recommend people go to Archive and check it out. Okay, so next up, we have, might be too soon. We might still be a little shell-shocked from Creature Commandos, but we're going back in. God damn it. We're reading Savage Combat Tales featuring Sergeant Stryker's Death Squad. It's a very natural, comes trippingly off the tongue. So this has 2 stories in it as well. The first one is written, they're both written by Archie Goodwin. The first one has art by Al McWilliams, and the second one has art by Jack Sparling and just Jack Sparling. So interesting. I didn't preview this at all or anything, so I know nothing about this.
Yeah, me neither. No, but
Okay.
I'm anxious to see Archie Goodwin's take on Atlas. That's for sure.
Yeah, me too. Ben says he wants a Rockford Files comic drawn by Mike Ploog. Yeah, me too. We know that Atlas Seaboard couldn't afford it.
Yeah. Get me Rockford. Nope. Here's Lomax.
But if you do back us on Patreon and get the Shadow Show, you get those 114 episodes we talked about and possibly some extra gated content that's just for you. But you would definitely also get in 1 week's time, the Shadow Show, where we talk about Charlton's Monster Hunters #6. As we alluded to back in the shoutouts, this season we're just kind of talking about comics, and we're doing a much lighter touch than we do on the main show. So we're not going page by page, panel by panel. We're just kind of talking about the experience of reading it. I'm showing some of the art, and it's just kind of like a quick review. So we're just trying to touch on a bunch of stuff that we didn't have time to get to during the run of the show. And I'm a huge fan of Charlton Comics. I know a lot of people say they're kind of the Kmart or the Sprouse Rights of the comics publishing world, and a lot of them are ultimately forgettable, but a lot of times they have great art. I mean, look at this Mike Zeck cover. Mike Zeck cut his teeth at Charlton, and he became one of my favorite artists of the 80s for Marvel. So back us on Patreon if you want to get the Shadow Show, and you can check that out. So in case you don't know, we're on Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky. We'd love to hear from you on there. We'd love for you to follow us. We'd like to follow you back, see what you got to say. You can go to patreon.com/Bronze Age Monsters and support the show to get all of that stuff we talked about before. And most importantly, if you could leave a comment here and like this video and subscribe, we'd really appreciate it. Like I said at the beginning of the show, that last episode kind of blew up because people were commenting and I was commenting back when having conversations, and all that stuff drives that up and gets it in front of other people's eyes. So if there's somebody who's not following us that likes comics, they're more likely to see this show if you comment or, say something in there, and we kind of can chit chat back and forth. And please don't forget to do John Walsh's survey. That would mean a lot to us, and I'm sure it would mean a lot to him as well, and we'd appreciate it. All right, Jacob, we did Police Action.
Yeah, that was a blast. I loved it.
Yeah, I had a great time with it, and I had a great time talking with you about it and all of our friends out there in YouTube land. It was super cool having all you guys there.
Yeah, I'm glad everyone joined us. It was fun.
Yes. Cool. So, I think that's it, right?
Yeah, that's it for us.
All right. So remember to do that survey. And until we see you next time, stay bronze, Pony Boy. Stay bronze.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.